last 5 years, and it's one of maybe the most intimate spiritual relationships that you could possibly have. And I'll leave what it is private, but honestly, these are two very special people, and I'm super excited to bring them together today. So without further ado, I give you Michelle and Andre.
Hi everybody, my name is Michelle. I am the founder of All Is Well Vibration, the author of Journey to Source Journal. And I'm so grateful to be here today with all of you beautiful, like-minded people. Shout out to Trish for putting this together. This is so amazing. This is like right up my alley. All the amazing speakers, activations. It's just been a really beautiful day, and I'm excited for tomorrow as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about myself and this journal, just give you a little bit of background of my story, where this all began, and how this journal and tool came to fruition. So for me, this all began with my path to sobriety. I got sober at the age of 21 years old. After 10 years of just really dark, destructive drug addiction and drug use, I found myself in a place where I was broken, disconnected, I had no connection to anything with myself, I was hopeless, and just really couldn't function in life. I had used drugs and alcohol and things outside of myself for many years to make myself feel better. It made me feel a part of. It made me feel connected to people. It made me feel accepted. I used drugs and alcohol to escape and numb myself when things went wrong. I used drugs and alcohol to celebrate. I pretty much used drugs and alcohol for literally everything. And at a certain point, by the time I hit 21 years old, my solutions life stopped working. And I didn't know what to do. And that's when I finally hit that rock bottom point where I realized I needed to make some changes in my life and do something different. And I was finally willing to ask for help and get help. So I ended up making my way down from New York. Me and Alicia were both from the same area. And I ended up going to a treatment center in Boca. And from there, they took me to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I started doing meetings and going through the steps that were on the wall. And I saw people around me who described the same types of feelings that I had. The hopelessness, the shame, the guilt, all of that. And they talked about a spiritual solution to their problems, not only for drugs and alcohol, but for their minds. Because I found out the drugs and the alcohol were just a symptom. Really, the problem was in my mind and my thinking. So I decided to go through the process. And in that process, they introduced me to a higher power. And they told me that it could be literally which was really cool because, I grew up maybe with religion, and by the time I got to this program, I really wasn't feeling it. It really wasn't resonating with me. So it was cool to pick something else and make it my own. And then from there, we just built upon that. There is a step in the program that talks about maintaining and expanding your connection with that higher power through prayer and meditation. I was not into prayer and meditation. That was not a big part of my routine. But I started off super simple. Literally God, please keep me sober. And then at the end of the day, thank you for keeping me sober. And then from there, there was different prayers, or I had daily reflection or meditation books that I would read in the morning. And as time went on, I just added to those different daily routines to increase that contact with this power greater than myself, to have something that I can draw strength from, to have something that I can depend on and trust and know has my back, because I knew that the outside things that I was doing before was not going to be sustainable, and that this power was going to sustain me to deal with life, whatever was coming my way. So as the years went on in my sobriety, I've done a lot of like spiritual exploration, and it's been so fun. It reminds me of like today, this whole thing. It's just like, to me, it was fun for me today, you know, and it was hard for me when I first got sober at 21 because I was like, how am I going to have fun? What am I going to do? And like literally stuff like this is fun for me today. And I was just opened up to trying new things, you know. We've all been sharing so many different modalities and ways of thinking and healing, and I think that's so cool because there's all different messages, and I feel like it's all kind of universally the same, you know. It's like loving yourself, loving each other, being kind to other people, and just kind of doing the best you can, but all kind of packaged a little bit differently. So I started doing things like Reiki. I have a Reiki healer who I've been seeing for 10 years, who's like my spiritual advisor. She taught me how to meditate. I didn't know how to meditate, you know, things like that. I was going to sound healing. I was going to retreats, reading spiritual books. I love reading spiritual books and just kind of learning the different ways of how these thought leaders talk about their connection with higher power. How do they connect with them? What are the things that they do? Maybe it's a certain type of meditation, or maybe it's a certain type of movement. You know, there's just a million different ways, and I think it's just amazing. So had a lot of fun with that. And, you know, through this process of implementing all these different types of activities and prayer and meditation and just rituals in my life, I've been able to change my life. You know, like today, I haven't had a drink or a drug in almost 18 years, which is crazy. But after that, you know, I've literally changed how my brain thinks. Like, when I first got sober, I was wired as a negative person. I always was like, okay, worst case scenario, I hate everyone, I want to fight people, like, I'm angry. It was just ugly. It was very, like, low vibe, dark, heavy energy. And, like, I think if you meet me today, you probably don't think that's how I roll. Today, it's not. But that is literally a byproduct of continuing to do the work day in and day out for the last 18 years. And, you know, specifically, like, focusing on my mind, I think about that a lot. Because I had to retrain my brain. And I talk about this with friends. Like, I used to stop myself mid-thought, like, when I would start going off the rail, like, nope, we're going to choose a better feeling thought. We're going to choose, like, what's something good that can actually happen. And just, it was practice over and over and over again. And that really helped me. So I did a lot of work. I was able to rebuild my life, do things like go back to school. I was able to rebuild relationships with my family. I was able to build a career. I manage a sales team for a global skincare company now for the last 12 years. So I'm in a very high pressure environment on a daily basis. And I'm able to show up to that position with grace. And I'm able to lead a team and keep my calm and my cool when everyone else is like literally going crazy. And I feel really good about that because I have this solid foundation of tools that I use and this connection to something greater than myself that I can pull power from to get me through really where life goes with me. And, you know, I was able to build a relationship in these last 17 years. I was married, I'm divorced now. And again, another thing, like life happens, the good, the bad, the ugly, the in between, whatever it is. And I was able to look at that situation with the divorce and just realize, okay, you know, what can I learn from this? What do I need to do differently next time? You know, and not completely crumble and lose myself in that situation. So I'm really grateful for these tools and everything I've learned because it's just giving me a design for living that works. So getting back to the journey for Source Journal, I just channeled this idea, honestly, when I first moved to Miami in December. I was meditating on my balcony and I wanted to me to create this journal. And for the next couple of weeks, I was literally just getting downloads of like ideas to put in. And I pretty much just created an outline for anyone on their spiritual path, whether you're sober, you're not sober, wherever you're at in your journey. It's just a nice guideline to follow for 30 days, and it starts with the first foundation, which I talked about over again, which is finding higher power, whatever that is for you. And then you build on it. So maybe the next day we're going to talk about prayers. How do we talk to God? How do we connect a deeper level? So there's some information about prayer. Then we go into meditation. How am I listening to the higher power? How am I tuning into my intuition? How am I hearing the messages I need to hear to take aligned action in my life? And then over, every day and every week, we just add on different layers. Again, universal ideas of things like, gratitude and forgiveness and creating rituals and routines. That's something that, to me, has been very instrumental in creating a really solid life. And this journal, I think, is a really great tool that you can put into your daily rituals and routines. For instance, for me now, every morning when I wake up, I make a point to turn on my alarm and not go straight to social media. Do not go on Instagram, do not go on any of those platforms. Don't check my emails. Just put it to the side. I do my coffee, I do a little bit of reading from some different meditation books that I have. I do some prompts from this journal, and then I go sit on my balcony and I do the joy dispensing meditation. That's like I'm really doing right now. And then from there, I do now, because to me, another part of this whole mind, body, and soul connection is moving my body in a way that feels good. Moving the energy through my body, putting oxygen into my body, and just feeling my best. And then after that, I go and make the nourishing breakfast. Some type of food that's healthy and make me feel good. And again, just eating my full mind, body, soul connection. And then after that, I can go out into the world and talk to people and do my emails and start taking my phone calls and all that stuff. And I have a much higher success rate of dealing with things at a very high level. So, again, this journal is just a really beautiful guideline. I've taken all the things that I literally do. It's just practical application of daily practices you can do. And, it's a 30-day guide, so you can do the full 30 days, you can do a little, you can come back to it. There's really no right or wrong way to do it. To me, I think the most important thing is just being honest and willing to show up for yourself every day, making a point every day to take time for yourself to do something that's going to benefit you so that you feel your best. Because for me, I use drugs and alcohol because I wanted to feel good. And I was always trying to use external things to feel good. So now I use all these other things to make myself feel good, like prayer and meditation and working out, eating healthy, all those things. Like simple things, but I think, for me, I can easily complicate it. So I put a lot of love and energy into this, and I think it's something that anyone can use wherever they're at in their journey. And I hope you enjoy it. If you're interested, I'd love to talk to you about it afterwards. And thank you so much for hearing me speak.
Thank you so much. To enjoy my legacy, and as you're saying, yes, still going into construction right now. It was a great story because I did feel regret after she actually got Healerverse and still I don't know that before. And things were different from my life. But even that was just a little spark. We all need a little spark in your life to actually start something. We all have something inside of us. There's nothing outside of us. And so I thought a little bit about kind of being in my veins and something like that. So based on those pretty much very similar story, also struggled with alcohol for my whole life. I couldn't understand that. I don't know, like everyone else, right? We woke up, actually look at the look at the sky, thinking that he's doing straight, and if he's doing wrong, why he's not merciful, why he's judging everyone. And it came to me that maybe that's not it. Because as you guys are listening to me right now, something is steering your soul right now. So something vibrates in you, which creates a frequency. And that frequency sends it back to the universe. So it sends it back to the cosmos, which connects all of us together into one. Right? But we all have to see ourselves as living. Right? So all if you free yourself from the higher truth, which is well connected. I was doing meditating to feel the connection to the universe, to the earth. And so, and I always wanted to write something. I wrote a bunch of songs, and that was always in my head. But since I had dyslexia, you can imagine how hard it is to type. I would finish one more, I already forget the beginning of the word, and then I have to go back. So by that time, I forgot what I'm saying. And thank God for technology, because then I start just vomiting. Oh, wow, so good. And I realized that I'm being called for something higher, even when I was a little kid. There was always something inside of me. I was always into the Native American. Then I ended up moving to US here, went to Japan, ended up building houses, always into the same group. I couldn't get out of it. I always find a way to self-sabotage myself. It's almost like I wasn't trying. I was really meant to be here. I was really young. And through that journey, I started combining more mythology into it. So I got into the self, the mind. And they all have one thing in common. Right? They all seek for that love, unconditional love, that compassion that we all have. So it came to me that maybe all frequencies, right? We all reach the frequency. So maybe the being in the sky is not just that. So it works, it's not like it judges them. You judge yourself, society judges yourself. But that frequency never judges. It's almost like you obey to your vibration. The way you vibrate, the way you connect to your breath, your thoughts, your mind, your blood. Then you manifest things. It's not the way you go. It's not when you think something, something happens to you. You may emanate something from your body. And I didn't wake up one day in a mat, in yoga mat. Okay, I just woke up, disconnected reality. I was trying to change something that was outside of myself, my own life. Little that I know is just inside yourself, it's one part. I just didn't know how it is. So then I tried frequencies, right? And that alone worked. I said, drum, that alone worked. Breathworks, it works, it's amazing. Meditation, voice activation, healing, even Santeria. It works for a little bit, but that filter that's installed in my brain since I was born, it's hard to believe about. We're being fooled. And it's not just us, it's a damage. So there's a story that we told that doesn't really make sense. New technology nowadays, you can see that story was very serious from the history that's missing. How could it be? How much black people on Earth, and next thing you know, there was 600? Something's not right. And that's where I started questioning myself. And then I realized we all have the truth. We all have this max already built. Everybody's circling the fist that they want to do. And that's why you can buy anything you want to do. You can actually use frequencies and blueprint for your own creation. And that's not a dependency. It's something you do. Understand if you think about it, positive thinking, right? For example, I'm grateful. My brain is going to tell the truth. No, you're not. You're ungrateful. You're afraid. You're afraid of what's true. So I can't hope that I can create my life. If I tell the future story of my version of myself, you're doing sort of affirmation. So you're not afraid of something that's not. You ask your brain a question, why am I grateful? And that question lends its persistence, and you don't find the answer. Somehow your brain is going to have the answer, why are you grateful? Why do you have? Why are you going to do this in your life? And that's all it is. It's just a little soul activation, a little reset that we all have to be in agreement with this world. So when I created this idea, it was meant to be a free idea. You can upload in your app, you self-activate your story of your life, what you need to do. It's the specific questions to realize what you need to do in your life, your blueprint. No one else is going to tell you what you have to do for yourself. And that idea was good. It wasn't from somebody else famous, right? But now it is. Now they're all out there doing the same exact thing. Which is okay. As long as that idea is passed down to everyone and everybody gets to each people, I'm okay with that. I'm still angry a little bit because it's not meant to be a mental pain. You have to go back in life. Right? When you go to yoga, it's not going to be because of anxiety. It's going to be because you endure that, because you don't want it. Right? You go to Breathworks so you can learn the benefits of that. Not because you're excited, because you can breathe yourself, because you want to learn yourself. And that's why I created this. It wasn't because I wanted anything else, it's just the pain that I felt, and I know a lot of people have that. Because even good things happen to us, and we react from that filter, from that pain, which is our pretty much the spiritual malady that we call ourselves. Right? That filter that's installed in our brain through generations. And then if you get a little deeper into the spirituality, we know we're connected to other personalities. That's not even ours. Right? Like we suffer pain that's not even connected to us. That's not even ours to suffer those things. And it's all connected in body in our system. It's not ours. Right? The source lie that first told us it wasn't a lie. It was a modification. Something mutated us into this. And put this filter of pain and anger that we always react from this. But if that filter can be removed, imagine a future self of yourself talking to yourself in a better way. How would I achieve this happiness or joy? Happiness for me is kind of like a little bit too much secret. I'm not going to be happy all the time. Right? Let's be honest. You know, buy a new car, next thing you know, you go to the next one. You never complain in your life. You can find joy. Find little moments of joy. Keep that together. That will bring a little moments of happiness. And then you know the next thing you're going to be sad about. And it's okay. Because then you build yourself again for that again. And so in this book, pretty much it has activation. It has a little bit of real story that it's not allowed to tell. So kind of tells about what really happens, who really modified us, what's the reason for it. So, and it gives you little tricks as well. How we overcome your mind. It sounds like you combine a little bit of all this goodness that we have in one. And you figure out for yourself who you truly are. Not let anybody else tell you who you are. So you can find out things for yourself. And I've been doing this. And a few people are doing this and it's working. Which is amazing that we have this technology for years and nobody's doing this. Why? Why do they want to keep us a slave to the system? Why do they want us to keep acting for fear, for manipulation? Right? Instead of giving us the freedom that we need from the day we work, so we can actually do those things that we like to do for love, for community, to be part of something, not to be manipulated. And that's what I was born for. And I'm here for it again, and now I remember this mission. Through this system that I created for myself, in order to use it. Because it's nothing to do with me, it's with what's inside of you. This is not going to get my story. You're going to learn your story through this system. You'll create your own version of yourself. Not the version that society told you. Not the misleading lessons that we're going through daily life. And I think that's what I got, guys. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about this, I've been posting a lot of things, but it's hard to compete with the big corporations, you guys know. And we're all trying to do a better world here. We're all trying to connect each other to this beautiful thing that was born spirituality. And it's not, it could become a system of law, I know. But I think there's many of us that's gonna wake up, that's gonna believe in that this can be undone. You can't make this filter. I truly believe you can, because if it's done with me, the things that I've done in my life, it's insanity. Putting an extension cord around my neck, woke up with a ceiling fan, and then woke up in a sidewalk, not knowing why. Why am I doing that? Without the space of the gas. I mean, yeah. Right? So I gave up once, and this time I gave up. Now even going to way too long, but definitely you make a little impact on us to make cats. And we can do that. Science is not always required, it's just the same, right? She's learning now the things that 30,000 years ago we did the same. We all did this before, which is amazing. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, I think you probably know by now that my name is Cascade. C-R-I-C-K-A-S-E. And I want to introduce you to some of my friends, Alisa and Alan, and they are actually up by me in Jupiter, Florida, which is in Palm Beach, and they do sound healing. We actually did a little event, when was that? Yeah, about a year ago. Yeah, a little bit less than a year ago. Yep. In Jupiter, and we barely even told anybody. We had a room packed with like 40 people for like a sound healing and a meditation. And so this is actually our second time together, and I am so excited for you to enjoy Sound Cascade.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Alisa. This is Alan. So we are actually domestic partners. We are fiancés and we're working partners. So yeah, it's working out. So I just want to give you a quick background about sound healing. Just a quick history, and then we're going to get into how we're all here to relax and set our intentions. So sound healing has been a home remedy favored by many cultures, actually for thousands of years. From historic Native American drum circles to modern shaman ceremonies in the Middle East, waves of soothing, echoing sounds from traditional wind and percussion instruments like we're going to be playing today. Also known as a sound bath, help with stress, fatigue, and depression. Many other benefits as well. Through sound, we achieve a deeper understanding of self, enhanced awareness and compassion for others, and stronger connection to our universal source of higher power. Our practice combines a unique sound meditation experience that utilizes ancient and state-of-the-art instruments that evoke both immediate and long-term serenity and joy. We now ask you to set your attention for this sound cascade that you're going to experience over about the next 45 minutes or so. And just think about that as we're starting to relax and get into our center. We're going to go inward. Do we need emotional healing today? Do we need physical healing? Is something hurting us? And we have pains, aches, and pains. Do we need to resolve past trauma? Are we asking for intuition or guidance? Maybe we have a burning question in our minds and we don't have the answer. Are we going to ask that during our sound bath experience? So we ask and invite you all now. I know you're all seated. A lot of times our attendees are laying on the yoga mats. But if you want to power down your eyes, take deep breaths in through your nose, yoga out through your mouth like a straw. Take 3 deep breaths and set our intention and enjoy the journey. Life is like music. We are living the eternal. We listen to music. We are not listening to the past. We are not listening to the future. We are listening to the inspired present. The inspiration you seek is already within you. Be silent and listen. Now, invite you back into your bodies, into this space, into this moment. And thank you for sharing yourself with us this afternoon. We are on Cascade. We perform regularly all around the Southeast and Florida. If you like a card, please pick one. We have a brand new website coming. We have a website coming out to be remembered with all our upcoming events. And we'd like to see all of your beautiful souls again. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. All right, my name is Guidetti, and I'm going to be leading us through a heart-brain coherence technique. also going to be diving a little deeper together with one of my personal practices that I do myself and that I share with my clients. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the heart and the brain. So the heart is truly incredible. It's actually 60 times stronger electrically and 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain. But the heart and the brain are in constant communication. It's a bi-directional communication that is happening between the heart and the brain. And the heart actually has its own network. So it is communicating to the brain physiological states, our emotions, and thought patterns back and forth. It's an influence. So we're in constant communication. Now, the heart-brain coherence technique, what it really is, heart-brain coherence is a synchronized, empowered state, physiologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So what is happening is that our heart rhythms, our brain rhythms, and our breathing, our body systems are in sync. They're syncing up. So it's creating stable, coherent pathways. Those communication channels are clear and free flowing instead of being chaotic and disorganized when you're in a stressed, anxious state. So the cool thing about this technique is that it's self-generated, meaning that you can do this anywhere, anytime. So if you're stressed out when you're riding the train to work, you can tap into heart-brain coherence yourself. If you're in a crowded place, like I will fully admit, when I first got here the other day, I was very overwhelmed by all the people that were here, and I had to sink into my heart a little bit due to all the energies that I was feeling. But then I was in an empowered state, able to relax and connect with everyone around me. So this is something you can do again at any place, at any time. Now, what I want to do is go into a little bit more of the specifics. So really, we are syncing up again our heart rhythms and our brain rhythms. And it will decrease stress and anxiety and induce states of calm and relaxation. We have better cognitive capabilities, better decision making, better problem solving, and increases our resilience. So it's really a beautiful technique that we can do to support ourselves again at any given time. So today what we are going to do, we are going to practice that technique. I'm going to lead you through it. It's a very easy technique to do. It's 3 parts. So we are going to concentrate on our breath. We are going to focus, shift our attention to our heart center. So it will be heart-centered breathing. And then we are going to focus on a memory that induces positive emotion or very strong, powerful feelings of love, joy, compassion, contentment. But you don't just want to focus on it, you want to try to regenerate that feeling. So flood your body with that emotions and make that connection. So you are overriding the stress and the anxious or the chaotic feelings, and you're bringing that higher level of emotion, flooding your body and overriding. So that's what we're going to do with that. And then I'm going to lead you through one of my personal practices, because when we are in a coherent state and we are synced up that way, we are doing this individually, so obviously it's going to affect our individual reality. But the cool thing about heart-brain coherence, and actually the HeartMath Institute, who are pioneers in this, and they have all research on this, so you can go and you can look up the HeartMath Institute and look into the studies that they've done on heart-brain coherence. But you can see very cool informative graphs that will show you the difference between the heart rate variability. So when you're in a disorganized and chaotic state, stressed, anxious, you will see that the heart rate variability, the graph, it's more chaotic and up and down. And when you're in a state of coherence, it's a smooth sine wave flowing. So you'll be able to check out that research if you go to HeartMath. But so really part of their mission is a global initiative. And their mission is that when we can induce this heart rate coherence individually, it will spread out globally. So your coherence can affect the greater coherence, the coherence of the collective. So it's a really beautiful mission, and I love the work that they're doing, so definitely check them out. And so with that, from this place, someone asked yesterday a very great question: what can you do from this grounding, coherent place? Well, there's so much that you can do. It can deepen your meditation practice, it can deepen your breathwork practice, your visualization, and even your manifestation. because when you're in that stable and coherent place, you are able to have a stronger, more potent aura and magnetic field. So it's, in essence, it's attracting and helping you magnetize and sustain those desired visualizations, and also taking steps through your coherent state and your resilience, actionable steps. So you're putting it into embodiment from that coherent place. So I'm going to lead everybody in one of my personal practices for that, and it's going to be affirmations. So we'll get into the heart rate coherence, and then I'm going to invite everybody to do a 2-part affirmation. So first we will shift our awareness to our third eye, and this is going to activate our consciousness. And I'll guide us through before we do this so everybody understands the breath that is going to be taking place. But we're going to activate the consciousness, and through the third eye, we are going to claim with our I am presence. Then we are going to do a second affirmation, shifting to our heart. We are going to inhale and exhale, and with that, it's going to be acceptance through the heart. It's more nurturing. So I am statements, and you are statements. I am Guidetti is that claiming. We are claiming that with our I am presence, our conscious aware state. And then through the heart, it's the nurturance, it's the accepting. And our subconscious is more willing to accept that from an almost outside source. So who you are, that acceptance through the heart, and the heart is our bridge from the physical to the ethereal, it's our connection to everything. So that's what we are going to do today. Any questions so far on that? I am going to go over the breathing techniques so we all have that before we move into the experience. But any questions so far? Anything I've gone through? Okay. Yes.
How long have you been doing this for?
I've been doing this for quite a few years. Myself, personally, I would say probably 8 or 10 years with my clients, probably for the past 5. Yeah, it's been a very beautiful experience. That's why I cultivate this practice. And you can do this. This is just one variation that I'm showing you today. What I really encourage people to do is get curious and play around with these techniques, especially when you get yourself in that coherent state and make that connections and you're syncing up your heart rhythm and your brain rhythm. You become very, very powerful and very, very magnetic. So you can really play around with the affirmations or any of the other things that I talked about, like deepening your meditation, deepening your visualizations. So really create a relationship with it, and you can build upon that. And it's something that can change no matter where you are. So it's self-generated. We are able to do this ourselves. And like I just explained yesterday, I absolutely believe that we're natural alchemists. We have the inherent ability to shift and transform our state. So we're an alchemist, and we are the alchemy itself because we are what is undergoing the transformation too. So getting into really quick the breathing for the affirmations. So do the heart brain coherence first and move into the affirmations. So when I invite you to shift your conscious awareness to your third eye, you're going to bring your attention and intention to this energy center. And on the inhale, just like if you're your belly will rise. But you're going to be concentrating on energy and sending the breath to your third eye, activating the consciousness. And on the inhale, your belly will fall, and you should feel like you're sinking within, like a deeper, so really activating that flow. So it's inhale, exciting the energy, exhale, pulling it deeper within your being. Same thing when you shift to your heart. Inhale, activating the heart space, and rise. On the exhale, you're going to sink deeper within, pulling that breath, and it's the acceptance into the heart, into your state of being. So that's what we're going to do. I usually invite nasal breathing, particularly for this one, but you can breathe if you feel more comfortable inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. By all means, follow that. Follow your inner compass on that, whatever feels comfortable for you. I personally feel more comfortable with full nasal breathing. I feel like I get a deeper breath out of that on my inhale and exhale. But again, do what is comfortable for you. So always follow that. Just a minute and guidance on that one. Great question. Thank you. All right, so we are going to shift into the heart brain coherence technique. You might want to take a moment and start to think about, again, what feeling you want going to generate. Now, you can think of anything that brings you joy and peace and contentment and love, elevated emotions. For some people, they might go back to a memory of their child being born, or maybe the day they lived their life, or they got engaged, or it could be a memory with a pet or a friend, an experience maybe that something happened, something connected. So anything like that where you can tap into the memory and the emotional state that you were in when that memory took place. Because that emotional tie, that emotional connection will help shift you and shift you within at a cellular level. And you'll be flooding your body with the positive emotions instead of anything else that will say at this specific time. Okay, so when we are ready, and I'll invite everybody to place one hand on their heart. Take a moment, connect to your breath, connect to your inhalation, and to your exhalation. Finding your rhythm. And with each breath, allow yourself to sink a little deeper. Breathing into that heart space. Generating that connection. And as you breathe, allow your consciousness and your heart to connect. Invite in a memory, a memory of love, that brings you joy, that brings you peace. Allow a smile to grace your face. Invite the energy in. Accept it as a loving grace. Continue to breathe, allowing this positive emotion to fill your entire being. And from this empowered place, I invite you to shift your awareness now to your third eye. Inhale, activating your consciousness. Exhale and claim. I am centered, grounded, and safe. Now shift to your heart. Inhale, activating your heart space. Exhale and accept. You are centered, grounded, and safe. That's right. Safe and sovereign. Every day. Shifting again into your third eye. Inhale, activating your consciousness. Exhale and claim. I am joyful, playful, and creative. Shifting to your heart. Inhale, activating your heart space. Exhale and claim. I am joyful, playful, and creative. Divine inspiration and creation flows effortlessly. Shifting to your third eye. Inhale. Activating your consciousness. Exhale and claim. I am courageous and confident. Shifting to your heart. Inhaling, activating that heart space. Exhale and accept. You are courageous and confident. That inner fire is lit. Shifting again to your third eye. Inhale, activating your consciousness. Exhale and claim. I am unconditional love. Shifting once more to that beautiful open heart. Inhale, activating your heart space. Exhale and accept. You are unconditional love. The love radiates all around. Shifting to that powerful third eye. Inhale, activate your consciousness. Exhale and claim. I am one with my truth. Shifting once more to your heart. Inhale and activating your heart space. Exhale and accept. You are one with your truth. Every word and action is aligned. Shifting again to your third eye. Inhale, activating your consciousness. Exhale and claim. I am faithful and intuitive. Shifting it down now into your heart space. Inhale, activate. And exhale and accept. I am insightful and intuitive. The inner compass knows the way. Shifting to your third eye. Inhale, activating your consciousness. Exhale and claim. I am sacred and divine. Shifting once more to that beautiful empowered heart space. Inhale, activate that heart space. Exhale and accept. You are sacred and divine. The entire universe is present within you. Now I invite you to continue to breathe into your heart. Iterate rhythm that is comfortable for you. And allow these elevated feelings and emotions to flood your entire being. Claim them. Accept them as yours. This is your divine state, your natural state, your natural alchemy. Continue to breathe, allowing love, the divinity to consume you. From its grounded, centered, and empowered place, I now invite you to make your way back back to this space with us. Feeling your energy, feeling your heart. When you're ready, you begin to move your body, with your fingers, with your toes. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. All right, everybody, welcome back. How was your experience? Does anybody want to share their experience? I'd be curious to hear whether it's what you felt, the shift within your being, or if anybody wants to share maybe the memory that they used to induce the heart-brain coherence. Anybody? Yeah? I'm going to come give you the mic because I absolutely want to hear your share, and I think everybody else does too.
I shared my vision was all about my wife and kids, that I was here. And, the moment that I proposed to her, both of my sons were the ones was the beautiful memories with me. That's the energy that I got to see. It was a fantastic exercise going back from people from
Thank you. Now, that was just one variation. For our purpose here, I really wanted to shift and again claim with our conscious awareness that I am state with our third eye, and then shifting into the heart and accepting, right? So the I am presence, that was the invitation, the claiming, and the heart is the nurturance and the accepting into our being that this is true, this is a true state for me. So that's why I did it that way today. You could have also done that by going and focusing on each chakra, moving from the root all the way up to the crown that way. You can honestly have your own way of doing it, whatever you feel guided to. Is anybody here do mirror work? Mirror work, mirror affirmations? Okay, so you will do that. So mirror work or mirror affirmations is when you can actually stare and gaze at yourself in the mirror and go through those affirmations, affirming to oneself while you're staring deep within your eyes. It's a very beautiful practice.
I look at the top of this, and I said, I love myself. And we're going to rock Healerverse today. That's right. Third day. This is my sign. My third day is my sign. My October sign. The third was born. So this number 3 day for Healerverse, and we had a talk this morning, and I was elevated, and the rest of you to see you.
Thank you.
And then you both are together, so I'm so glad.
Thank you.
I can't get that one.
But I love that you did that for yourself this morning. So you had that, it's that talk, it's that coming into that place of coherence within oneself and that acceptance within oneself. So with mirror work, you can absolutely do that. So that's another way you can utilize this. It also is a way to prep for, again, other energetic work that you're doing. So I want to work with clients if we're going to go in and visit something within the body. If we want to see where we're holding on to energy, I will have them get to a coherent, stabilized place first before we do that. That way we can go into the experience of, let's say, doing a body scan. They're able to scan their body from a much more centered, grounded, and aware place. And they can then determine where they're holding energy in their body. We do this very intuitively because we can hold energy in different ways. And the way it's communicating with us, the language, it can be different for everyone. And you can see variations in that language. So some people might be holding energy in their body and communicating with them if they're tuning into a certain area. It can come across as pain or tension. They might be feeling anxiety and how that can be changing within their body. Some people feel a change in temperature. Some people tune into an area, they might get a vision. It's like their clairvoyance. Other people, they might be hearing words or song lyrics. So it can be different for everyone. Or you might experience that in all different areas of your body, and they can come together and they can synthesize. So all those energetic communications are coming into your system. So I usually have that happen for me. I might tune into one area and I'm seeing the color, and I'll be able to associate that with a chakra and something I need to work on and on. So if you work that way, or if I hit a word or memory, then I can focus in on that. And once you gather that information, you can do an intuitive inquiry and develop basic discernment on what it is. And then start to do the inquiry and ask yourself, where is it coming from? Because it could be yours or it could be from an outside source. And then from there, you can work on energy clearing techniques. Now, is anybody here familiar with energy clearing techniques? Someone? Okay, we can talk about it. We can go through a few. So now that you know how to get yourself into a stable and coherent place, and again, you can determine if there's any energy within your field that is yours or from an outside source, you can do that if you would like. So some ways you can do that, obviously through the breath. So when I'm describing this, I like to describe this using the breath as a vehicle. So just like we did in the language I was using of activating the energy, that's what you would do. You would focus on a place. Does anybody, can I use sometimes as an example? Does anybody have any pain or anything that they're experiencing somewhere in their body? Yeah? Okay, so your shoulder? Okay, perfect. So you would then shift your conscious awareness to this area in your shoulder. When you inhale, you're going to inhale to that place in your shoulder. Activate it, excite it, feel it as an energy, and then on your exhale, you're going to breathe it out and give it movement. So essentially, it's like a vehicle. You're prepping, you're activating it, and then moving it. So you can do that with your breath and utilizing your breath that way. Some people are more visual, so you can connect your breath and pair it with a visual, like a color. So you can either see what color comes to you, right, intuitively, or you can assign it one based on where it is in your body. Whatever feels natural for you. Some people also even like to assign it a texture. I've had clients that will like to visualize it as smoke or as sand, and as they're inhaling, they see sand matter, and as they exhale, the sand is blowing away, essentially blowing the energy of that pain out of their field, out of their system. So there's many different techniques that you can apply from this stable and coherent place. Any questions? Any more questions? Or does anybody else want to share their experience? I love that Dr. Tim shared his experience with heart-brain coherence. Anyone else? Questions?
I was thinking about my dog.
Yeah. That would be actually, it's so funny that you say that, because when I go to that, I think of my dog Rocky. Because he instantly, we had such a deep bond and connection. And we were talking about him last night actually, with Nick's going to be coming on after me. He's going to be getting into his beautiful abilities that he has to share with us related to animals. But we were having a conversation about this last night, and my dog comes through all the time for me. So we still have that connection, even though he's moved on to the next plane. So that bond that we have just transcends time and space. So it brings me that upliftment and that joy. So I'll think of him. I think of my nieces and nephews, because they are the apple of my eye. I love spending time with them. So that's how I will increase that feeling and flood my system with those feelings of love and contentment and positive emotions. Yeah.
I was thinking about more as a parent. So, going back 30-something years ago, and we that lake in Huntington with Trish, but she was feeding good. She would help us. Just very pleasant memories of that. And also her brother playing baseball. So just very pleasant.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And this is what is so beautiful about this process. It's so unique to us, right? Like the memories that are going to come through, even family. Like we're sitting here with Trish, she's sharing a memory she has, and that was her dad that just had to share. And he's sharing his memories of his family that's coming up. So it's all deeply unique to us. But through this unique process, this individual process on syncing our heart-brain coherence, again, one coherent state is going to affect the greater whole and the greater collective. So that's why I really love that mission of Heart Math. I'm so passionate about it, because I do believe that it affects all of us together, because we're feeling each other, constantly communicating with each other through our fields. So the more of us that are in those stable coherent pathways, the more it's going to affect the global consciousness, the collective consciousness as a whole. Anybody else? Any other questions? Any shares?
Okay, when you did the talk that when you did the exercise, right? And then when it goes to the brain, I thought it was, you push your third eye.
Yes, okay, for the affirmations.
I mean, I thought it would be, yeah, it's still running I didn't put that in the brain.
Well, essentially that is an energy center that is connected there. So that's why I was leading us through that, because it's the energy center here present in the crown and in the brain area, and then also the heart, so heart, brain, coherence. That's why I designed it that way today with the affirmations. So first we started connecting to the heart, because even so the heart will, through its own neural network, the heart and brain are constantly communicating, but the heart will be sending more signals to the brain actually. So that's why we'll start the heart-brain coherence technique at the heart, and then we can shift to other areas of the body, because it's sending more signals to the brain, and the brain is sending to the heart is sending more. So it's a beautiful connection.
And so, I guess it's the sponge where they measure the magnetic field.
Yes.
Goes 3 meters of length. Now, how long does that last? Is it something that is like you guys live every day, and something you cannot,
So our field, it will usually, depending on our state, right? And this whole technique that we're talking about is to shift our state. So our order field, the magnetic field that you're speaking of, that will shift depending on what we're going through. If we're highly stressed or something happens, even something out of our control, right? If, let's say, some tragedy happens, we lose a loved one, our field will probably become a little bit weaker because we are so inundated with that negative emotion or the grief we're going through. So our field can be weaker, more penetrable. If we're experiencing sickness, for example, you get to an accident, something happens, so your field might tend to be smaller and weaker than it is when it's in a stronger, more coherent state. But the cool part is we can shift that, right? Like we can't control the waves that wash up on our shores, but we can learn how to ride them. And that's what this essentially teaches us how to do. I like that. That's one of my lines. I have quite a few. I think you're like, anybody else any questions? What do we get? What are we doing on time? We've got a little time. Let's see. Do you have anything you want to dive into?
Well, I was just thinking about like the chakras and maybe just understanding a little bit about the different chakras that are connected to your brain. So we're doing third eye, it's in front, but the crown chakra is on top. And there's actually to most you ask how many chakras we have, but in between the heart and the third eye is also the throat chakra. Which a lot of times women's throat chakra is blocked, but mine's not.
I don't think this ever was. But also another thing I will say, when I do this work, I like to work in a ground up fashion. So when we're talking about chakras, I like to start and stabilize at the root and move up from that place. Because also when we're looking at the auric field, we start with the physical body. Our physical body is our manifestation of consciousness here in the physical realm. Then we move out to the emotional body, the mental body, then the astral body, which is connected to the heart. That's why it is the bridge, and then that takes us up to the higher spiritual bodies. So I start from a grounded place to be able to open up and to receive. You're basically priming yourself to receive, perceive, and transmit. So receive the information, so whether that is, intuitive downloads, right? Conscious signals, codes, whatever you want to call it. You're receiving, perceiving it, and then transmitting your frequency and negative frequency based on that. So it's a huge transference of energy taking place.
Wow. I love the way that you articulate things. I was just tapping into the energy of all the chakras as I was sitting here. And I feel that some of the chakras for me aren't as evident if they're blocked or not, especially my lower chakras. I can't always feel whether it's blocked. I would say blocked is a good word. Or just not really moving, right? But like the heart, I can sure as heck feel, and I do see the difference between my third eye being opened and when it's closed based on what's going on around me, how I'm perceiving things. I am able to like receive and perceive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what you can do? You can also tune into your body and ask. Do a body scan, tune into those chakras, tune into those areas and ask. Are you blocked? Is this operating? What do you need me to do to move this energy? That's how we begin to build up that language and that connection to our inner compass. It's really direct experiential learning. How do you know if you don't go in and ask? Our human operating system is dynamic. Learn your sex.
You're so good.
Thank you.
Listen to you all day.
Literally.
Yeah.
I'd be curious too, how does anybody feel right now after that? Do you feel a shift in your state than when you came down here this morning and first sat down? Do you feel a shift in your being after doing that? Anybody want? I want to hear from you a little bit, I think.
So it's that sense of really coming into oneself, like sort of concentrating on this moment, nothing else exists, and just listening with my thoughts, not worry about the bills, not worry about the car, or the change. For me, those moments, and it happened yesterday, it happened again today. I get this overwhelmingness of happiness. That's just this incredible little of like a child. And to me, that's what life should be. It should be one like this and one like that and one like that. It should be like, oh my God, I'm alive, I'm like living, I'm around these wonderful people, life is good, I don't have a variety here, I don't have a $3 million house, who cares? I have all these people and I have life, I got opportunities. Yeah, well, no, yeah, of course, yes, but that's not going to define any of us, right? What's going to define us is the connection that we make. And like what Scott said earlier, when you love yourself, when you accept yourself, and I was talking about it, there's wonderful healers here. There's so many beautiful healers, right? And you can heal people up. You can be the best healer in the world, and you can touch somebody. And unless that person wants to be healed, or unless that person heals himself, once you take that inner rock, go back. So it's really up to us. And all these healers can heal because they're healed. Because they come out with this positive energy and they radiate. And that's what we should do. With our followers, right? We leave these 3 days with the smiles that we have right now. And we continue to share them with the people that come into our lives. So I'm here. If I'm here, and whether it's going to a sound pocket, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's that positive energy that we are radiating here, and we can make a better world. Humanity is still going to be a mess. I'm hoping the world is still going to be on fire, so all I can do is change what's wrong. That's why I can change it. And I change it with a smile. I'm not going to change it with anger. I'm not going to change it with fear. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to change it with love. And that's what it is, but it has to come from us. But first, that's to come from us. That's not said. Loving ourselves, accepting ourselves. Our good and bad, knowing that we do good, we smile with love, that positive energy that we radiate. These are the one energies of life. Because you don't have time for negative, you don't have time for worries. It's just positive, it's so different negative people. But you can do that. It's all good.
You hit that key word though, you hit that word radiate. And that's exactly what we're doing from our heart space. We're broadcasting out your channel. We're radiating through your heart. And that's the connection that everybody's going to feel. That's the connection to everything around us. Our Taurus is really essentially. That's where it emanates from. It emanates from the heart. Now, this was really a treat for me to lead because as you guys are going through the experience and your eyes were closed and you were in your process, I had the beautiful opportunity to observe all of you. And what I got to see was shoulders dropping, right? Seeing more ease coming to your being. Seeing smiles gracing in everyone's face. Seeing tears flow down on some cheeks. So it was very beautiful to see that shift in just a few minutes. right? A few minutes, very simple to do. And I think that you've now gathered that you can really do this anywhere. You can do it on a plane. I'll probably do it on the plane when I'm flying home tomorrow. Just to relax and calm myself because I might get a little anxious in the airport or when I'm flying. But you can do this anywhere at any given time. You can do it solo and you can do it at work. It's very powerful.
Can you do it when you're driving on the highway?
I would want you to maybe keep your focus on the road, so I might not recommend that one, but when you get to your destination, by all means.
When I was driving from Colorado to Florida, back from Colorado, I was doing breathwork. So I was going to my mom's house, and it was like 3 days, maybe it was a 4-day drive back from Colorado back to Florida. And I was totally doing breathwork on the way. I think sometimes you gotta be cautious with that too. It's kind of like drinking and driving, right?
Well, I think everybody got to see that yesterday with Dr. Mike and his side of breathwork, the 90 breathwork that he was providing for everybody on that, how what the effects have on your system, right? You might be getting dizzy, you do feel that lightness in your body, but it can affect people differently. So you do need that level of discernment within yourself. Again, what you can handle, how you can handle it, how to push yourself to your limits, to your edges, and to brand yourself.
So true.
Any other questions from anybody else? With that, I think this is a beautiful, sweet spot to end. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Musica. I'm an animal psychic communicator and tool coach. And the way it started for me was my wife and I. We went to a psychic fair in Carlsbad, California. When we get to this fair, we walk the floor, we don't see anyone that we like, and we decide to approach the floor from the opposite direction. Right in front of us is the sign that says meeting ideas, like medium. Now, I'm not a fan of mediums, so didn't think it was a thing. And psychic says the mediums just wasn't part of the belief system. And for some reason, I think this lady's going to be around to believe it. Who's smarter than past 2 months ago. So I look at my wife and I say, hey, girl, what do you think of her? And my wife says, that sounds great, but you go first. So I sit down thinking I'm going to be a supportive husband of 15 minutes, can't wait to get back up, and then hear what my wife has to say about her reading, right? But as I sit down with me and Alisa, she starts and she's doing good things and draws a heart. And she says, this is either a former romantic relationship or it's a memory. And she circles down. The message is, you did too much. And my cat Henry would be 22. Pure white cat, little pink paws, little pink nose. The last 2 years of his life were going back and forth to the bed. So to try to solve all the old age symptoms, right? There was nothing to really solve. They were trying to just ease the symptoms of old age. So the summary statement of you did too much was right on, right? And so at this point, I'm falling like a little girl whose brother just ripped off the Barbie doll head. And my wife is over here going, what's going on? And the best I can muster up is, I don't know, but I just mouthed it to her, right? So I'm catching up to the reality of having a conversation with my dead cat through this woman. And she keeps going. She says, my guides are now showing me Dr. Doolittle. They're showing me that you can talk to animals and it's going to be easy for you. And I never heard anything more truthful in my life, and I couldn't tell you why. So I go home, and I figure it's going to be easy. I'm just going to talk to my living cat, Chucky. Right? So I do my normal meditation, which looks nothing like this necessarily. And I see this big white ball of energy that you would associate with like spirit guides or angels or some high level being. And I think, absolutely not. My cat shits in the rocks and sometimes on the floor. He's not a high level being. So I call up Alisa and say, easy, like it just isn't even working. And she tells me, I'm expecting information to show up in a very specific way, and that's just not how this works. You get to be the channel, what you get is what you get. Done and done. Okay. So I decided to give it a second shot. And I buy animal communication books, and I get a couple animal sessions or communication sessions with folks, because I'm trying to figure out how this works, what it even looks like, at real fluid, right? And as I'm about to go to a Zoom meeting with an animal communicator, I go up to my dining room table, and I get this quick flash of the end scene of Return of the Jedi. If you're familiar with the movie, the Force Ghosts, the Jedi Ghosts show up at the end. And the ghosts, I see the ghosts of Obi-Wan and Yoda. And now, I know this is coming from Chucky. No, but that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is I'm being shown a student-teacher relationship. And I'm the student, not the teacher. So I have a bunch of conversations with Chucky. And horses and other people's animals, their dogs, their cats, they're all little teachers here to serve us. They really do want to help. If we're open to receiving that help, if we don't see them as little things that show in the box and sometimes on the floor. And so today I'd like to chat about a couple ways to communicate with animals, two of which you can walk out the door with, one you think will lever, depending on how we align with it. Okay? So number one is how animals communicate with us. And two common forms is mirroring and modeling behavior. And when a client show up, and she showed up because her little chihuahua was biting people. And she says every time the dog comes into the house, he just attacks their ankles. I can't even have people over. Can you tell my dog to stop biting people? And the answer is no. I cannot tell any little sentient beings to do anything. But my promise is I will ask the questions. And maybe they'll answer. We'll see. Some of them are more game than others. And when I tuned into this little chihuahua, he said, ask her about her job. I said, why don't I ask her about her job? Because that's what has to change. Okay. So I get her on Zoom. I do most of my work on Zoom. And she shows up as, you could probably say, an angry individual, right? And I'm thinking, this is going to go all like a part in church, right? This is not going to be great. Did you talk to my dog? Mm-hmm. Did you tell him to stop biting people? Mm-hmm. What did you talk about? What do you do for work? You're not out of work. How do you make money? I'm a private driver. Ubers, limousines. Cool. How's that working out for you? Well, I have spinal issues. And my doctor tells me I shouldn't be driving because after about an hour or two in the car, my back is all banged out. It's very painful. So now I start talking about the dog that same, right? And as we're chatting about how we're aligning with her job is just not there, I see roses. And I go, what do you do with roses? And she goes, well, I paint roses on boxes. And then I get, well, what do you do? Oh, she lights up a little bit. Right? So, okay, so let's take a look at the information that the dog is bringing to us today. One is your job, which has to change. And it does this, right? Brings you down physically, energetically. Nothing good about this job. Nothing bad about it. But the roses and the vases, this is what happens when we're talking. And so there's these two things in contrast are what's showing up. So way less than this, of this, and way more of this, right? And so that's the lesson from the dog. We don't want this, we want this. Right? Super cool. If we're open to receiving this information. So, number one, mirroring. Right? In this case, why is the dog biting people? Because you're pissed. You're a pissed off human being. And the dog is just going, oh, we get to do this. I'm going to show you how you are, right? Very simple math. Very simple. The second way animals communicate with us, the second most common way animals can communicate with us, is with modeling behavior. Now, me and my wife, we are not immune to the lessons of animals. Little boy Chucky, who I mentioned, he loves to stand on the piano. Loves it, loves it, loves it. And I have no problem with him doing that. Sorry, Jojo. I really don't. And sometimes I'll say hello to him, sometimes I'll walk by him, sometimes I'll take him off, but I don't have a feeling attached to him when he's on the piano. However, my wife, when she sees that little bugger on the piano, she's like, Chucky, get off the piano, get off the piano. And he sort of just stares at her. And if she gets closer, maybe he'll jump off, maybe not, depends. But my wife is also the one who every once in a while will go, I really need to play the piano. It's 30 minutes every day this week. Yeah, make sure I do it, okay? So chunky is mirroring the behaviors best as for everybody can muster up around bringing attention to the piano. Say, hey, come over and play me. I'm right over here. You've been playing me all week, but now's a good time to come over and play. And also, I don't have a great relationship with the computer. I will grind until my productivity goes down. And so every night, my little boy cat at the bottom of the stairs where the living quarters are will be down there crying between 7 and 8 o'clock at night, wanting to play. Now you could go, he's a cat, he likes to play. He's also a 14-year-old cat who plays like he's 2. And he plays his little face off every night, and he asks me to play with him every night because I don't have a good relationship with the computer. I need more play in my life. So that's his lesson for me. Right? So there's 2 easy ways we can take a look at our animals and see what they have to share with us. That mirroring behavior and that modeling behavior. Super cool, right? And they're right there. They're right there just teaching us on an human scale. The second way is how we communicate with animals. And it's a trifecta. You need to see it, you need to say it, and you need to see what we talked about it in the last session. You need to feel it. And if those things are not in alignment, communication falls. And so I have a client who shows up, and she says, I have this problem. People typically come with a 3D problem for the animal, and then it's like, hey, let's talk about you and your job. Let's talk about you and your thing, right? They're like, what's going on here? This same thing happened. So she shows up and she says, my dog won't go outside to pee. Okay, walk me through it. Well, it's the same thing when you put like, how hard is this? This is hard. It's the same thing during the days as the night. Okay, tell me. Well, I'm standing by the door. I have the dog move. The dog sits down. I open the door. I look outside. The dog goes outside, pees, poops, does his thing, goes back inside. Done and done. That's during the day. But at night, we call the dog over, open the door, and my nightgown, there's a difference. And then the dog just sits there. And he looks at me, and he doesn't go out. I said, well, how do you feel about going outside at night? And he goes, I'm not afraid. Let me get this straight. It's okay for the dog to go outside at night, but it's not okay for you to go outside at night. Is that right? I want to make sure I'm getting all the information here. Okay. So we can see that you're saying it, but you're really not feeling it. Right? Those 3 things are not in alignment. And that energetic signal is confusing for animals. When it's not consistent, it's confusing. It's a little bit like this. If someone were to kick in your shins and keep on walking, and you're like, WTF? What's going on? You could at least apologize and be like, oh, sorry. It's not really a heartfelt sorry, right? You can't really feel that apology. It's sort of like that. Someone may say it, but they really don't feel it. So, super simple. See it, say it, and feel it. Right? So another client, similar situation in terms of inconsistent communication. She comes to me because her dog is very aggressive, hasn't bitten, but is very aggressive to her son and grandson when they come over. We'll get right in the little kid's face. Bark, 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 bark. And it makes her a little anxious. She's afraid of what may happen. Okay? And then what happens after that? Well, sooner or later, the dog will settle down. Cool. Does the dog bark at everyone? Yeah, barks at everyone. Walks, wherever, it doesn't matter. What about your backyard? Oh yeah, well, when I let the dog outside, we do have a big backyard fenced in, and it butts up against a park. And there's people walking that way. And some of them have dogs on leashes, but there's some dogs off leash. And it drives me crazy. Okay, so I imagine what you're saying in those situations to the dog is stop barking. It's okay when your son and grandson come over. And when the people are outside in the backyard where you really don't like what they're doing, you tell the dog the same thing. Is that right? That is right. I'm trying to get the dog to hush down. Okay, well, over here, where the dog comes in, where your son and grandson come in, you actually want to have the dog settle down. So tell the dog to settle down. But over here, in the backyard, with the people you really don't like their behavior, who are being arguably irresponsible, letting the dogs run around, and that doesn't sit well with you, what you don't want to do is say, it's okay, stop barking, because you don't feel like it's okay. It is not okay. So that's a miscommunication. So let's be consistent about what we want to communicate with animals. Let's mean what we say, feel what we mean, and that's going to get us the best result when we talk to our readers. Like, super cool, right? Like, so simple, so simple. Do you think we can all just walk out of here today and have those two things in mind and move forward and have better communication with readers? Yeah, super simple, right? And the third way, and this is why people come to me, is via psychic connection. Call it telepathy, call it psychic connection, call it whatever you want. But there's a connection. The animals will show me things, I will hear things from them, I'll feel things from them. And we can all, here's the secret to it all. We can all have some version of this for ourselves. At the end of all of it, it is so darn simple. It's crazy. And I put a lot of blocks in my way. I made it way more difficult than it had to be when things started to open up. But today I want to go through a couple things. I'm working with folks on developing their intuition. We talk about the three C's to start to get blocks out of the way. Okay? And the first C is coincidence. If there's one thing you can take away today is no more coincidences. There are no coincidences. They just simply do not exist. I was at a conference about 2 months ago talking to a colleague, and we're talking about artificial intelligence, and she asked me about the animals, how's it going? It's going pretty cool. And then a gentleman comes over that she has seen and has contact with in this conference. And he comes over with his phone. I gotta show you guys this. It's a picture of a human at the top, and then an animal at the bottom. And he says, I asked AI to tell me what my son would look like by looking at my dog. He doesn't have a son, he has a dog. Right? And she's like, oh my God, we were just talking about artificial intelligence, we were just talking about animals. This is crazy. It's not crazy, it's a synergy. And we can see these things as either coincidences, or we can see them as breadcrumbs from the universe that we get to follow and pick up and see what else there is more. Right? There's synergies. They're no accidents. They're not weird. We can't do anything with weird. We can't do anything with coincidence, but we can do something with the learnings, the next right thing that shows up for us. That's the path. It's a lot of intention. It's way less go to high school, go to college, get a good job, 30 years, retire. It is not that path. It is the next right thing that shows up. It's a feeling, it's a navigation, right? Your little compass that you're following. Super cool, very uncomfortable sometimes, very, very uncomfortable, right? This is not the paved road. This is a bumpy road sometimes. It's also, have you ever been on a bumpy road? It's fun. It's a fun bumpy road. It's super cool, right? And so that's number one. So no coincidence. So if you could just leave it with 0 coincidences, and then start to show, those things will start to show up. Number 2 is the channel. I believe it told me. Just be the channel, be open to what you get. My very first animal communication session was through a mastermind I was part of. We get together on Monday morning. How was your weekend? I tell them about the psychic. Talking animals is going to be easy. And she goes, well, when you're ready, come talk to Bodie. I want you to talk to Bodie. I give her a call. We set the session up 2 weeks later. And about a week before going to see Bodie, this was, I think, the only one I've done locally, went to her house. I'm driving around just thinking about the session, just thinking about Bodie, and I hear they want me to be something that I'm not. And that was it. That was all the information. And so for the next week, I'm like, where's the information? I do my meditations, not getting anything. All I have is they want me to be something that I'm not. Okay. So I show up, and they go, how's it going with Bodie? She goes, you know, he is the perfect breed for hospital work. He can be a therapy dog. The dogs, snickerdoodle, some type of doodle. I don't know what he was, but he's a doodle. Some type of doodle. And she says, he failed all of the tests. He's not going to be a therapy dog. Oh, bummer. Well, what about the kids? The kids are like 2 sons, like 10 and 11. They want to play fetch with me. They want to play with the dog, right? And he'll play fetch. But after like 2 or 3 rounds, he drops the ball and it's not much of a fetcher. Okay? Well, what does he do? Well, with the kids. Well, when they're on the couch watching TV, he'll just sit down and lean on it. Okay, well, what about your husband? He doesn't really have a relationship with the dog. His dog passed a year ago, and he just really hasn't bonded with it. There's got to be a place where he shines, right? There has to be. Well, it's funny that's because we go for family walks. We go for walks like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever it is. But we do as frequently as we can as a family. And Bodhi will spend time with each and every person on that walk. Super cool, right? This is a family. It's like a Brady Bunch family, but a little busted up Brady Bunch family, right? Her husband died. He's from a divorced relationship. The 2 kids, the sons, right, have a dad who passed. The daughter from his side comes over, but there's the tension of the divorce and who's the mom, right? So there's a thing going on here. There's dynamics. They're not getting what they want from this dog. They're getting what they need. Super fun. So, what are we talking about? We talked about coincidence. We talked about channel. Thank you. And the last thing is going to be, if I can wrap my head around it. So commitment. So here's what people think, is that this is somewhat true, but it's also true for all of us, right? You hear about people who just like come out of the room and like they can see things and spirits over here, I see dead people, like that type of thing, right? And that's frequently not true. There's a lot of people who shut it down because it's uncomfortable, because you don't see dead people, you sound like a crazy person, right? I didn't know when I shut mine down, I know very clear. And here's what it is, it's a gift. So think about your favorite holiday as a gift, right? Your birthday, Christmas, whatever it's going to be, doesn't really matter. It's a gift. What do you do with gifts? You can go, this isn't for me. You can put them on the shelf and never see it again. Or if you really love that baseball, man, you play the heck out of baseball, right? And so it's a gift on day one, but then it's a skill, and you develop it, and you learn from those. And things show up and change and evolve, and it's weird and it's exciting, but it's a gift at first, and then it's a skill, right? So I was fortunate enough to get a surfing lesson from a professional surfer in Hawaii, Sonny Garcia, the world champion, Triple Crown winner, which is, the Hawaiians really like this. The Triple Crown is 3 big breaks in Hawaii, so they just really give a shit about balance. About being a world champion, but I really care about this, the Triple Crown. Sonny won this multiple times. So I did serving listening to this guy. I'm thinking, if I lived in Hawaii, I would serve every day of the week. And so I go, man, you must serve every day of the week. Like the waves are always good, right? And he goes, no, I don't. I train every day of the week. I'm in the gym, I'm riding my dirt bike. When there's a contest coming up, I'll start tuning up, I'll start getting back in the water. But I'm training every day of the week, and then there's the event, right? So everyone in this room may or may not have a game day, right? But that we can all think on to. I have training weeks, and that's how I structure my week. So every day, I'm up at 7 a.m. the latest, sometimes 6, and I'm dropping into a meditation, and we're going to go through a couple exercises. Dropping into a meditation, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Doesn't matter, it's the consistency, showing up for the consistency, that's the training. And then my personal game days are talking with the animals, my process, I talk to animals on day 1, and then I keep reconnect with the human on day 2. That's my process. Right, so I have my training day, and then my game day. So, and that's the commitment. Right, you go from, with the commitment, you go from you go from gift to skill. And it really is 100% that easy if you know what to do. Like if someone's showing you how to hit a ball, it's way easier than going out there trying to smack a ball over the fence and swing real hard. It's not how it works, right? So you work with someone, or it comes a little naturally, maybe, but a lot of things don't come naturally to a lot of people. When you look at folks, we look at Tom Brady and we go, man, like what a natural talent. That guy worked his ass off. He worked his ass off. He was not someone that was highly prized. He just wasn't. But he earned his spot because he worked harder than everyone else. Right? Very simple math again. Super simple. So with that said, I'd like to do a couple exercises that works for everyone. Right? Okay. So we already have some energy moving around here. And so and thank you for doing that. As an exercise, just to understand a little bit what we can do for ourselves, what we can do for others inside this room, outside this room. Why don't you just close your eyes and just follow my voice a little bit, okay? And we're just going to sort of shake off any excitement. And just sort of get neutral. Just get neutral to energy. Just being in a place of being. Just there you go. Tune into yourself. And now we're going to intentionally go low. We're not going to stay there. We're going to intentionally go up. Now we all imagine we all have a place we go we're not feeling great. Mine is frustration. Mine negative go-to is frustration. And I can already feel a little bit of my stomach. And I just generated that for myself. I just willfully created that. Now, whatever you have going on, I want you to let that shit go. Let it go away. You can give some great examples of letting it show, like sand, let it just shoot off. Smoke, just let it shoot off. Let your vibration come up to a more neutral state. And now I want you to think of something that jazzes you up and is exciting and you're looking forward to. Yeah, look at it. And bring your presence back into the room. Open your eyes when you're ready. Super simple, right? Like we literally get to control our own energy. We get to be poopy pants if we want to. We get to be the opposite of poopy pants, excited and aligned. Right? We can be flat, which is way better than being poopy pants. It's not quite. Who wants to live in flat? Who wants to do that? So we get to do that. We get to do that. And when we're around each other, especially for 3 days in a row, and we're all up here, imagine what we can create once we stabilize up here. And then once we stabilize up here, can we go to like, what is the limit? I have no idea. No clue. No clue. Right? So exercise number 2, and when I was talking about Alisa, and she said, blah, blah, animals, blah, blah, can be easy for you. After I took out all my blocks, right, those coincidences that showed up, making it harder for myself, I thought there's one reason why this is going to be easy. It's because in 2017, I met a gentleman, friend, at a San Pedro event. And that was my learning of energy and a bunch of other things. It was super cool. And he taught me a system that I'm going to introduce you guys to. And it's called the Aligned Living System. And really what it's about understanding your own field and where you begin and where you end. Because if you can't do that, then are you feeling your emotions or someone else's emotions or the person driving who's aggravated with the traffic or who knows what it is? Because what I do, what anyone who works with energy does, especially if you're getting information from something else, you're blending the energy. You're getting information out of that blend. But how do you know if it's something else or if it's yours? So we understand, first step is understand our own energy and get aligned with our own energy. And from there, we can then go to things and actually bring them to us. It's really the best way to do it. And then we examine from that place of alignment. So let's do this. We're gonna need a little bit of room. Okay, so you're cool. Yeah. So we don't want to necessarily do cactus arms, but what we want to do is bring up both hands, right? Yep, palms up. And so here's what we're doing. We are identifying the rest of the world with our hands, with our palm and hands, identifying not our system, not our field. So closing your eyes, recognizing that field that is not ours, the rest of the world. And make it feel frantic, we feel busy. And now when you're ready, close your hands, put them in the palm of your lap. And what I want you to do is just imagine yourself in a little bubble that contains only you. We're going to check that bubble at the top, make sure it's sealed up nicely. The bottom. Front, back, left and right. If there's anything that feels like it's not yours, so invite it to leave. One of those described this as the feeling of coming home with quiet. Now, one hand on the heart, one hand on solar plexus. We'll start by taking 3 deep breaths into the nose and out of the mouth. I'll count it off, but on your count, yeah, here, there we go. Get that rounding going. Same thing with the right. And then you'll do the same thing with your root, your tailbone. All driving down, bring that rounding. We're on this plane of doing these things in the bodies with this round. Pull that energy up over the feet, over the shins, knees, and the thighs, hamstrings. Help the region into the stomach, into the torso, lining the root, sacral, solar plexus, the underbelly sides, the lower back of the spine, low back, up into the heart, whole chest cavity lighting up, around the shoulders, down the arms, biceps, triceps, into the hands and the forearms, head upper back, throat, up into the face, the skull, ears, eye sockets, everything lighting up with the energy that we just invited from the river. Are tapping in. With your eyes so closed, bring your attention about 12 inches above your top of your head. And imagine a big zipper up there. And I want you to unzip it and invite that energy to just rain down. Gentle rain over your head and shoulders, down your back, arms, torso, blending in better. And this is your energy build. 100% you, nothing else. And so now let's bring that emotion, whatever that thing was that We brought earlier that brought us down. Let's bring that emotion into the space. Bring it to us. And see if it even has any meaning. Frankly, there's no emotional charge to it. Main guilt is not relevant. Why am I even bringing this thing to it? It's just, I didn't want to think about it before, but now it sort of doesn't exist. And so from this place, this is how we can interact with the world. It's a chess game. We get to react to the world because they go first, or we make the first move from this place. Okay, while we're here, I'm going to bring their attention down to the third eye. We're going to start there, just find a place to begin from. Yep. Just use your imagination, bring your attention to the third eye between the brows. And then I want you to go up into that crown. Staying grounded, but bringing our attention up into that crown. And we're going to play a little game. It's called the Game of the Gods. And I want you to think of three things that you want to see within the next 72 hours. And it really can be anything. I asked to see Ferrari, Red Ball, and Peter Pan the first time I did this. Random things. And within 72 hours, I drove by a Ferrari, and on TV I saw a Red Ball, and then I heard another episode of the same show talking about Peter Pan. You really lost my shit. All right, when we're ready, still stay in the space. We're going to thank your guide that we connect with. And we're going to zip up that crown. So we're going to return back to these bodies in this lifetime to do the work on this planet. Quiet the third eye, quiet the throat. Quiet the heart. Solar plexus sacral. And that root with the energy just flow back over our legs, down our knees and shins, into our feet. Letting our strings disconnect from the bottom of our feet and our tailbone. Bring our attention back to our crown. Imagine a string, a small string, a connection, like a fishing line. From the crown to go way up into the sky. And then left hand side of our foot. We'll imagine a similar string going down to that earth. Because we're never shutting off the connection. It's a volume control. It's not an on-off switch. And when you're ready, bring your presence back into the room. It is super fun to watch everyone do that. It's very satisfying. That's everything I prepared for today. I hope that worked out. I don't know if you have time or want for questions.
While we get the next speaker, does anyone want to ask any questions? I have a question. So I swirl around. I see this that happens a lot of times when I'm super connected. I start moving and rotating.
Yeah, it's funny. That happened to me quite a while ago when I started to train like this. And David, the gentleman who taught me that meditation, was like, I can feel you just spinning up here. And I thought, well, that sounds a little crazy. Because I didn't do it. Right? Because I wasn't as sensitive as he was. And then there was one day I was doing, we call it mindfulness meditation, where I used to work. And that happened to me, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing something probably different than what everyone else is doing. Because no one's had this experience. So I think it's just, for me, it was just one time. But it is a real thing. It's a very real sensation. Yeah.
I haven't had that happen in a long time. Mission accomplished. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Hi.
Hi, thank you. I was not expecting the personal meditation part of this, just the animal part of this. And can I hire you to help me with my creature?
100%. What type of creature do you have?
A red poodle.
Did you say red?
A red poodle. His hair and my hair are the same color.
That's fantastic.
And he's a rescue. We got him at 8 months old. So he's a designer dog. We didn't meet him until he was 8 months old. And now he's 2.5. And he's in 1 month.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So short answer is yes. Yeah. And so, Jojo, would you mind? Yeah. And we'll chat. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So also you can find me on Healerverse. He's a verified practitioner. You can send a private message on there in the messaging feature, and we're gonna jam out for 5 minutes and bring up Colette. Thank you. I'm so excited to introduce to you Colette. She's honestly amazing. Biohacking mama. She's gonna come up here and give you guys some amazingness. I'm a little lost for words after all the meditations this morning. So I'm just gonna let her take it over from here. She's incredible and she's local in Florida. I give you credit. I was like, I'll sit down when I talk, but I think I might sit for a little bit, and if I really don't want to stand up, I will do so. Well, thank you guys so very much for coming in. It's been really wonderful to sit here over the past 3 days and to hear so many amazing people share their great knowledge, and I think that is what it really takes as a community for all of us to come together to share our knowledge and take these little nuggets, and I hope that I can maybe share something with you guys as well. So like Trish said, my name is Colette Schnabel. I'm known as the Biohacking Mama, but biohacking is not something that I've always done in my life. So I thought that I would just kind of share a little bit about my story and my journey and how I got into biohacking, and then I'll share some of my favorite biohacking tips and tricks, and I will leave some time for questions at the end. So, as a young girl, I had some experiences in my life, and that kind of set me on a path in my young adulthood. I barely graduated high school. 4 days after I turned 18, I made the bold decision to move out of my parents' house while I was still a senior in high school. I was tired of being told I couldn't do certain things. I lived a very sheltered life. And I moved into a home, I got a job, and started to continue to say, I can do this, I'm an adult now. Well, graduation was coming around, and they're like, well, you've missed a lot of school, you're not going to be graduating. And so I was like, okay, I did what I had to do, and I did graduate. But I never went to college, and I moved away from the state that my parents moved me to, which was Minnesota. I lived there for a year and a half. I absolutely hated it. I hated the cold. And I moved to a little island in the Caribbean called St. Thomas. And when I moved to St. Thomas, I was going to go there for 3 months. And I stayed for a little over 2 years. While I was there, I developed a wonderful addiction to drugs and alcohol. And that really took hold of my life for many, many years. And it wasn't until after I became a mom that I understood why I had these addictions. Why was I always in this life of escapism? What was I avoiding? And I had my son when I was 30 years old. And when I became pregnant with him, I read a book. I read a book about hypnotherapy. Now, I had lost my first pregnancy about a year prior, and so I knew I was given this gift, a second chance to create the most beautiful life for what was being created inside of me. So I found this book called Hypnotherapy, and I read it, and it was so empowering what a woman's body could do. We could birth a baby naturally, pain-free. Not like what the TV and the media puts in your mind and puts all this fear in, and women screaming and having so much pain. And I was currently seeing a traditional OB at that moment, and I go in and I'm like, you know what? I've been practicing hypnobirthing. I'm going to have a pain-free birth. She looked at me and she laughed. She's like, that doesn't work. People try that. That doesn't work at all. And at that moment, that person inside of me who does not like being told I can't do something said, oh, this is no longer working for me. And it was at that moment that I knew I had a feeling in my body to always trust that I know that I could do something. So I went out and I found someone who would support me. Because when we're women, not just me, any woman is a new mom in her first pregnancy, you're nervous, you're scared, you're not sure what is going to be happening. And so I found a support system. I found a support system that was going to have my back, that was going to encourage me to have this beautiful birth that I believed that I could have. And I did. I remember getting down. I live in Fort Lauderdale, just for you all that don't know. I live in Fort Lauderdale, and the birth center I chose was all the way in Kendall, so that's a little over an hour away. And I remember going down, and the midwife was like, okay, you can come in now. She's like, oh my gosh, you're 9 centimeters. To have someone say that, and I was like, oh shoot, I did it. I got in this far, and it was absolutely true. It was pain-free. I had the most beautiful birth, and it was the most empowering thing I've ever done in my life. And that's when I knew that I had to continue to trust that innate wisdom that I had inside. And so, fast forward, about 3 years later, I've had my daughter now. And at this time in my life, I had already started my wellness journey. I had gotten into understanding nutrition, understanding what our food supply and how it was toxic. It wasn't really nurturing us the way our cells and our bodies needed. I understood about all these pesticides and all these things. I was vegan. I was working out all the time. But after I had my daughter, I started to have this chronic pain. This chronic pain that would manifest in my shoulders and my neck, and I would have this debilitating anxiety. I think I could get up here to speak is laughable, because that is not who I was. I would go to parties at my friends' houses and think that people were talking about me. Like, that's how much anxiety I would have. And then after I had my daughter, this anxiety got so bad that even though I was so holistic, it got to the point that I would take myself to the hospital because I would have the worst phantom feelings. I was like, there has to be something wrong. And they were like, no, after all thousands of dollars I'd be spending, doing all these scans, ultrasounds, they're like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, it's just anxiety. Well, ultimately, that made me feel absolutely batshit crazy. And I'm like, that can't be an answer. Like there has to be something wrong. And I had a coach and a mentor at that time, and she knew about my childhood. She knew about experiences that I had, and she said, "Hey, do you know how traumas manifest in the body?" I was like, "I don't know what the heck you're talking about." You know, I grew up believing that the words chakra, the words aura, I was going to go to hell. Like those are things that I could believe in. And so I had to really break free and remove so much of the programming of what I grew up believing. And so at that moment is when I was introduced to what I call as frequency medicine. I was introduced to a technology out of Germany, a technology that was able to read me in that exact moment and create a frequency program that would benefit me in that exact moment and create a change instantaneously in my body. And so I said, I don't care how much it is, you send that over to me. And it did exactly what she said it was going to do. Within a week, that chronic pain went away. And I would say about 3 months in to me utilizing frequency technology, I call this as my veil lifting. The woman that I always wanted to be inside, that young girl who knew that she was meant for me, that my love and my beauty wasn't a ultimatum or like to be held up for someone else to take advantage of. And I learned that I had power. I had something more inside of me that I was capable of spreading light into the world for others to see into. And so from that moment on, I knew that I was meant to let other women and other mothers see that as well. Because when you become a new mom, you can lose your identity. And I had to really find what this identity was, who I am now, because I was an addict. I didn't have a career, you know, and I found strength through community. I found strength through women. I found strength through people who were not going to judge me and that were going to hold me on this path that I was choosing to make a better person every single day. And so today, I am deeply passionate about empowering other moms to rewrite their story every single day and to be able to show up in the light that they choose to be. And I do so by teaching them different ways to optimize their health. I am now a journalist for a media company called Biohacking Media because what I have seen in the past 5 years of being in the biohacking space, that there's a lot of deep pockets, there's a lot of money, and a lot of people are really good at marketing themselves. And it doesn't matter how much someone pays them, it doesn't mean that the products that they represent are good for someone's health or that they're actually going to be taking them to that next step of where they're supposed to be. So I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a whistleblower, but I'm definitely someone who is here to shed light into the right types of things people should be spending their money on. You know, I have 2 young children, and all the people that I work with are families, and so I don't want a family who's been, you know, earning and working hard to be wasting their money or to be putting something in their body that maybe isn't actually beneficial just because someone said that they need to have it. And so now I go around to as many conferences as I can to experience and to learn all the most cutting edge technologies. But what I also do is I get to know the people behind these technologies and these brands. I want to have a connection with founder stories. I want to have a connection with someone's mission and purpose of why they are here and bringing good into the world. And if a company doesn't have something like that, I'm not going to bring that into my home for my children or for the mothers and families that I support. And so along my journey, I have found many things that are absolutely remarkable. I have found things that are staples that I believe that every family, everyone should have. And then there's some other fun things that are great to have that maybe, you know, aren't necessary, but it's good to have. I like to bring people back to the basics, and biohacking can kind of seem out there for some. They can think like, oh, you have to have so much money to be able to do all these things. Well, I want to believe in the term of bioharmonizing. I want our bodies to be harmony and working in the innate, beautiful way that God has given it to do. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in today, there's so much fighting against us. And so I look at the body now as a battery, as a life force. And so how can we keep the light lit inside ourselves? There's many things that we can do for free. Waking up early, getting into the sun, looking at that early morning sky, or in the afternoon and evening. Many of us are so fortunate we live here by the ocean, going to the ocean, putting those negative ions, putting your belly to the ground, right? You talk about grounding, going out and putting your feet. What about your whole body? Putting your belly there, getting as much of your alignment onto the ground. But then we have to think about all the other things that are fighting against us. Why did our ancestors be able to go out into the sun and not have cancers and things like that affecting their lives? Now we have all these things in the atmosphere that are restricting the beautiful gifts of the biophotons that the sun provides to us. We have the 5G, we have all the metals up there spraying, all the other toxic stuff that's up there that's not allowing the light to come back in. And so there's other ways that we can actually do that to receive light. And then we have to think of the water. Water to me is the foundation that everyone should be building their health on. But unfortunately, the water that we have is toxic. Man came in and did their man things and destroyed it. We have the pharmaceuticals that are being pushed down the drains. We have the pesticides running off into the water. And then, how is that water supposed to actually go in and nurture ourselves? Do you think if you go to the gym and you see those people, those big jugs that have 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, all the times that they're supposed to be drinking throughout the day, all that water must go straight through them. They think that they drink all this water and don't have to go to the bathroom. Well, you shouldn't have to go to the bathroom right after you drink water. The water should be saturating your cells. And so that's why I come here with one of my most favorite products, which is the EV tank. It's a molecular hydrogen water device. And I'll tap into a little bit more of the science of hydrogen in a minute. But I truly believe that when your cells are fully saturated, all the other goodness in the world can be more received. If you choose to do supplementation, if you choose to do more frequency technologies, if you choose to do a red light or something like that, it is received more into the cells because the cells have a light form around it. Actually, I don't know if any of you have seen this, but the moment the sperm meets the egg, there's like a lightning bolt that shoots up. That lightning bolt is a biophoton. The light is formed through light. We are light beings, and too much of our light has been dimmed. So with the hydrogen, this is why it's the foundational piece that I bring to every single family out there. Because there's no contraindications, everyone and anyone can have this. Now, what does hydrogen do when you consume it into the body? So hydrogen, it used to be the most abundant thing in the universe. It's what the stars are made of. It is what here was first formed here on life. Now, you can have hydrogen if you're breathing it. People maybe put it into their eyes, into their ears. I love to confuse my water with it. And so when you consume hydrogen, it has this innate wisdom to immediately go in and find the most damaged oxidative stress within inside the body. It immediately goes and starts to clean your blood and your lymphatic system. And because it's so small, it actually can cross the blood-brain barrier. Not many things can do that. So people that have struggled with brain injuries, traumas, people that have Alzheimer's, dementia, ADD, autism, all of this can be beneficial. But then you think of everything else that stems, all these diseases, what does this form from? Inflammation. What causes inflammation is dehydration. And 75% of the world is chronically dehydrated. So what we see with people when they start to drink molecular hydrogen water is that first week when they start, their bodies and their cells, think of them as like little tiny razors. They're like, oh my God, what is this? And they pump more and more and more. And then they become saturated and they're so full that people start to see a shift within their body. They might be sleeping better, right? Maybe they started detoxing. I knew that this happened to me about 3 weeks in. I was like, oh my gosh, what is that smell? And I realized it was me because the water, only water was the only thing I changed, started to detox. Things I was holding on to. And if you think of women who work out so hard, they the trauma? What is your body holding on to? And so this device that we have here not only brings in that therapeutic amount of nitrogen, but it taps into the energetic body. And so when I'm working with families and others out there, I want to encourage them to think of not only this, because I used to believe I was just a meat suit walking around. But now I know that there's so much more to me, and that we can need to align the physical body as well as the spiritual body all in one. We need to keep this coherence with inside those states. And so now, when people have utilized this device in particular, they have seen the fastest results. So I've had people say, oh, I don't drink hydrogen water, I don't notice anything. Or like, oh, I drink hydrogen water, it tastes like chlorine. I don't, you shouldn't drink it. Because many of the devices out there, first and foremost, are not creating hydrogen. And then lastly, just so you guys are aware, I don't ever want someone to invest their money and have it go to waste. The other devices on the market they break down over time. And when they create hydrogen, it also creates other nasty byproducts that can be toxic to your health, like leaching heavy metals, mercury, arsenic, lead, or even toxic gases like ozone or chlorine gas, and not in a good way, because I know ozone can be used in a good way. And so we want people to be always optimizing through this. And then frequencies, again, water holds memory. And so you can even speak love, and you can speak these words, you can write words. Maybe some of you have heard of Veda Austin, this amazing doctor. She goes and she shows and freezes water, and it shows what was actually imprinted in water, because it holds this memory. Like Dr. Ebodo, he's shown many ways that we can do that as well. And so when we use the water with this information, we gradually start to shift the body back into a state. And I always encourage people to track this. How can you track, how you're feeling? I'm not a biohacker that wears technology all day long. I don't track my sleep. I don't wear an Apple Watch. I am now very, very, very sensitive to EMFs because of all of the frequency work, all of the work I've done on my body. And so I can't wear any of that type of technology. So I know for some people when they're starting, it's a really good thing to use. And they like to stay on top of that. But for me, where I am in this life, that's just not for me in this moment. So someone's gonna ask, oh, do you use this? And no, I don't use those types of things. I wake up, I go, oh, do I feel rested? Oh no, I don't. Okay, maybe I should do something a little different in my bedtime routine. And then how do I biohack with my children? Because this is something I want the families to understand, that it's not just for moms and dads. This is a lifestyle that we should be creating. This is a lifestyle that should actually be thought of before you decide to become a parent. Because it takes two to tango, as we know, but it also takes two to have a beautiful, vibrant baby. And so encouraging the families to think about that ahead of time. And then when you have these beautiful little ones, and this is a lifestyle that you showed them from the very beginning, that they can stand up for their power. I teach my children to stand up for what they believe in. My children know the foods that they should not eat. My son, he even just went on the last field trip, and they're like, oh, bring money, we're going to get Dippin' Dots. And he had a swim meet that evening, and he said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have that today. I'm an athlete, and I need to be able to perform. So we have these conversations, and when you include your children from a very, very young age, it empowers them. It empowers them to be able to stand up for their rights. And it took me to be in my 30s to be able to start doing something like that. I want our future generations to be empowered, And so my daughter, she's 6. She's a very, very spirited little girl, and I want to continue to harness the light that she has. And in today's world, we dim the children very quickly, right? The TV programming, you see all these kids on their devices, things like that. And so our children don't watch any TV throughout the week. We watch a family movie on a Friday night. They aren't allowed to watch anything before a swim meet or a sporting event, because we have seen the decline in the way that they perform. Yes, we want our children to be children, right? We take them to fun things, and for example, we took them to Disney on Ice, and we let them have a snow cone and cotton candy, right? It's a one time of a year thing. My daughter turns around, she's like, I feel crazy. And I'm like, remember this. This is exactly why. It's those colors, the red and the blue. And just feel this. And so this morning when she woke up, Mommy, my head hurts. And so we asked them to tap into how they're feeling. It's just confidence, guys. It's okay. There's really a lot of pulse. It's a lot of pulse, yeah. And so we want them to feel their bodies. We want them to tap in and to understand what it is that they're feeling. We talk about these emotions that they may have or the words that they say, right? Everything is frequency. When I first started working with frequency therapy, that was how I got into the biohacking space because I couldn't believe America didn't get this. Why doesn't America know about frequency medicine? Well, because they want us to stay sick and numb. And so I took it to one of the largest biohacking conferences in the world. And I think 5 years ago, they weren't quite ready for the technology that I had. Some were, but some were still like, how do we know that this works, right? And well, it won't work if you truly believe it won't work because the power of the mind is strong. So you have to encourage, you need to believe. And I have also worked with other amazing spiritual people who say that they don't need that. Well, that's great because they have the power. They have the power to tap in. I did not have that power. I needed support. I needed something to help move me into the right place that I needed to be. And but now I am capable to tap that in. I am capable to not rely on so much of the technology. It works in yin yang, right? You need to have it for some times, and other times you need to believe in yourself that you can do these things well. And so, I came up here today and I was like, I'm not going to prepare anything. I wanted to speak from the heart because a lot of the times I come up and I have all my presentations and I do all these things and I spread all of this science and all this stuff and people are like, wait, what? And I was sitting here listening yesterday to so many beautiful speakers and I felt that a lot of us, we share a lot of the same things. And so I do a lot. And I would love to allow people to ask questions as to what it is that I do, different ways to optimize your health. I don't do a lot of supplementation anymore. I used to. I used to think that I had to have over 20 different supplements a day. But now I want to really be able to tap back in and have the natural rhythms of my life and not rely on so much else. And that is why I'm such a fangirl of the water, right? Because it's really what it does. It allows the body to start working in the right way. And when it starts to work in the right way, your body can naturally start creating the hormone. Your body can naturally get the hormone levels to balance out. You can balance out your thyroid levels, right? Those are 2,000 studies of what molecular hydrogen can do. And 220 disease protocols. What does that do? Over 220 diseases in the world can be alleviated through molecular hydrogen. And so I ask people when they start this, I say, let's just take 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. Adjust this, and see how your body starts to adjust. Some people might have experiences of headaches straight away because they start to detox really fast. Others might not feel anything, and then that 3rd week, they're like, whoa, what just happened to me? And now I can say, and I know many of us have had the experience of beautiful weight loss because your body has held on to so much inflammation. There's a brand new study that's coming out, an 8-week, it's not 8, that's 2, an 8-week double-blind study showing that the molecular hydrogen naturally activates the GLP-1 hormone inside the body. And so what does that mean? These women, I think that they have to inject themselves with Ozempic. They think that they have to do all these things to lose all that weight. You don't need to do all that. You don't have to spend I think that costs about $1,500, I think, for people to do. And what else is that doing to their health? It's destroying their muscles. Not just what else is a muscle? Your heart. So people have to think about these things. And they don't. Because they look at outside influencers. They look at people who they think we should be giving them that advice. And it's not. It's actually being detrimental to their health. So I want to help people recognize and to know what that they should be looking for when they want to invest in their health. Don't just purchase because someone has told you. Don't just purchase because I told you. I want you to ask questions. First, I want you to be able to understand what you're looking for when you're on a website, right? I want you to be able to go in and they better have those FAQs written in a correct way. Right? There's a lot of telltale signs on a website when it comes to health optimizing products that, you know, should give you a red flag of should I invest in this or not. And so that's what I love to do. And so I'm happy to answer questions for people, different ways that maybe you're curious of optimization, or if you want to, if you've tried something or haven't tried something. I am quite the guinea pig. I've done almost everything out there. That's why I've really found what works best and how I've been able to simplify my routines. I mean, I just flew back from Austin on whatever day we keep Friday. I flew in from Austin on Friday from the Biohacking conference, and yeah, it's great to go and to try all those fun things. But also it's like, okay, I don't necessarily need this, and this. And I also want to let you guys know that there are some amazing doctors here locally that can help you in a natural way, help you with technologies that have never ever really been put out there before. So over the last year, I had a wonderful opportunity that was presented to me to become a casting director for a documentary that's going to be released soon to Amazon and Apple TV. It's called Shield. It's a play on words. It means she healed. We brought in over 75 of the world's leading experts in longevity and women's health and optimization. And I was able to share my story, but I was also able to meet some of the most amazing people. And there's this one technology I want you guys to know about. I have no affiliation with it, but it's something that I couldn't believe has not been spread enough out. I know that there's a few centers in the area here that have it. And this technology is called Firefly. So this technology can immediately pick up all the pathogens inside your gut. It can pick up the exact type of parasites that you have. And then they have these two light wands, and they put this light on your belly, and immediately you can go in and kill those pathogens. Now, Dr. Mark Bales and his father are the ones who created this technology. And when I met him, he was telling me about a little boy in Minneapolis. And this little boy was battling leukemia, and he had gotten a fungal infection in his lungs. The hospital told his mom, we need to cut out one of his lungs. And this is what we need to do to save your son's life. So she said, okay, that's what we need to do. And so she allowed them to cut out one of his lungs. And then the fungal infection got into the other lung. And the mom called one of her friends who had this Firefly. She said, can you please come and try this? So they had to sign all these waivers to allow this technology into the hospital. After one treatment, it killed the fungal disease. It saved this boy's life. If she would have called a day before, it would have saved his other lung. Dr. Mark Bales has more and more stories like this. And it's these types of technologies that have been hidden from us for over hundreds of years, right? There's a report that happened called the Flexner Report in 1910. The Flexner Report was brought and done by Andrew Carnegie and the Rockefellers. This is when Western medicine really started here in America. They brought back over patents for pharmaceuticals. And what they did with that Flexner Report was they said any naturopathic doctors, any frequency doctors, they were practicing acupuncture, alternative medicine, and they said none of that's allowed anymore. And what they also did is they shut down every single African American medical college except for 2 in the United States. And this is when they started to suppress the healing of America. And that's when the sick care system came in. And now, in the world that we live in, we cannot be suppressed anymore. We have to be thankful for the technology, the social media, and for all of us out there spreading this word. For all of us here at Healerverse who know that our voices need to be heard because we can make a big difference. And so I'm so thankful to have opportunities to meet so many amazing people. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a practitioner, but what I do love to do is become a sponge for science and to break down that knowledge and turn it into easy, consumable information for the everyday woman or family to receive. And so that's what I do on my social media. That's what I do, and helping other moms step into their power to be able to rewrite their stories and to become multifaceted entrepreneurs. Because we are not just one thing, we are many things. And so people are like, "So what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I do a lot of things, guys, because I know I can, and I believe that everybody can do that, and that is the gift of what we're here to do." So I'm happy to answer some questions if anyone has anything regarding to biohacking, or if you want to come up and try the water. I hear your question.
What's your favorite? Thank you. What's your favorite biohack for Giana? I saw on your Instagram how you were saying travel days were super hard. I travel a lot internationally. So what's your favorite biohack?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So actually, there's a couple of things that you can do first and foremost. So if it's a long haul flight, I got a magnesium, and so a really good magnesium. Like I like to take that first because I don't know if many people have this experience. I know I do. TMI, but I always get backed up when I fly. You know, and then also being somewhere else, you're not in your own space. So magnesium not only helps your body rest, but then become regular as soon as you get to your next destination. I always love my Colette walking classes. When you're there, making sure you have something that is protecting you from your EMFs. You are in a giant microwave, plus everybody else's technology that's in there. And now we have the Wi-Fi on the airplane. So another great thing about hydrogen, it also helps EMFs and radio frequencies inside the body. Other things that you can do is actually, if you're flying, if you're flying like towards China, to drink more acidic water. If you drink more acidic water going away, that will actually help your body naturally to regulate. And if you're going the other way, like to Europe, to drink more alkaline water. On that alkaline acidic water thing, I actually want to talk to you guys about this because I do love using frequencies so much. And so one of the amazing doctors and scientists that I've had the pleasure of working with, his gift, he was born autistic, and his gift was that he turned his autism in that he could physically see frequencies. And so that he was gifted, and most autistic people are, but they're dumbed down, right? They're medicated. And so what he saw was that when someone consumes more of a neutral or acidic water, the cells become more magnetic. They are able to receive and to be balanced back into a state of coherence if you're using a frequency technology or something like that. Now I know that alkaline water has its way with certain people. That's not an argument that I give to people, but I truly believe that alkaline water is no longer alkaline by the time it hits your gut. So I don't necessarily think people should waste their money on thousands of dollars machines for alkalinity. That's just what I'm saying. Does anyone else have some questions?
Clear mind and clear mind
Yeah, good question. Clearing your mind and brain fog. So, again, my hydrogen is go to the brain, right? That's standard. That's just standard what we do. Other things, breath work. If I'm feeling like overwhelmed or something like that, like a quick fire breath to recenter my mind. I am a big advocate for microdosing to help me stay. Yes, see there. Very, very big advocate for that. And it wasn't until I started to respect the medicine that I realized the power of what it could do for me. Other technologies that are great that I don't necessarily use so much. Brain tap. Brain tap is a great technology. It uses light frequencies into the eyes. It has light frequencies into the acupressure points in the ears. Headphone meditation, binaural meditation. And so there's many different programs that you can use within that way. Some people like to use the methylene blue. I am not a fan so much of methylene blue anymore. Because of the addictions, it also can really mess with the serotonin, dopamine effects in the body. And so I have taken it in really small doses, and I thought, oh, you know what, I'll try it again. And I had the doctor prescribe me some, and it was like 25 milligrams of methylene blue oils. I had mine for 3 days. And then it really brought me back into the concerned states of what it was doing with my receptors. So, and again, like, it's individual for each person, right? You know, so people have to find what is best for their bio-individualism. Yeah.
Also resonate yourself with finding people. I'm on stages as well, talking about finance and everything. Educate people. We also want to bring the present there. It's a common idea. I need to be more clear. See if I'm really resonating the education I want to bring people so they empower the people out here. So how do you do that? You you're on stages as well as I am. So how do you resonate that to bring the power to the people out here?
Yeah.
You're educating us.
You know, so I work very, very hard at raising my personal frequency. So before I get on stage, I remind myself of how far my heart and my personal frequency goes. And when I get up on that stage, I share that, I spread that out. I imagine expanding it to the entire group. I have an opportunity for another piece of technology. There's another cool technology called the Sound of Soul. The Sound of Soul is actually was gifted from Emoto. And so what it does, you put different electrode pieces onto your heart, I think it goes into your kidney, and it actually reads your heart frequency and turns it into music. I was sitting in the middle of a giant biohacking conference, and this woman came up to me and she's like, I have this technology, you want to try it out? She put it on. I started bawling and crying because for the longest time I didn't feel the worth, right? I didn't believe that I had anything to give to people. And at that moment, I knew I had been working for so hard, right, to find that love within myself. And so to hear what other people feel when they're around me, that was truly a gift. And so I want people to realize that you have this inside of you. You have the ability to spread that to people, to let them feel you without even saying something. And many people can get caught in these loops, these mental things of, I'm not good, why should I get up there and talk? Why the hell should I be up here talking? You know? We all should be able to talk.
Another question was, you really stress about women, pregnancy, your birth, and everything. What about the men here?
Yeah, the men.
Power of integration. Can you give us what information give us the men? Give us their experience for us.
Yeah, you know, I'm happy to share about that. So my husband is an Australian ex-rugby player. He grew up boys boy, you know? And he is not tapped into the way to feel like I tapped in, right? And it's funny because when I was still on my old journey, the person I used to be through drugs and alcohol, you know, he was never that person. But for some reason, I always say he saw the diamond in the rough within inside me, and I put this man through a lot of hell. And so, but he was always listening to Joe Rogan. I'm like, ugh, this guy again? And he's like, oh, Joe Rogan said to do, try this, blah, blah. And it's funny because he was always trying to encourage ahead of time, right? And I don't feel the men tap in enough to the feminine, right? Where they're meant to be natural, meant to do that. So I love when I see men, especially the men in this community, right? You guys are already tapping into both of those types. And I encourage men to, I think men don't come together in community enough. And I think that needs to be seen, right? Yeah. And I think that you know, the men put so much of a burden on their shoulders to provide for the families, that this is what they're supposed to be doing, right? And we're in a day and age right now where we can all share the same. And my husband is a wonderful person because he knows the path that I'm on, and he's waited for this moment where I am right now for over 13 years. And so he supports every single thing that I do, and he really steps up as has a wonderful house husband when he's at home because he travels for most of the year at home. And so I wish that he doesn't tap into the community, and I really feel that men need to do that. And so, and I also feel there's ego. There's so much ego within this space. And that I see more of the biohacking spaces. That it's becoming less, right? That they are coming together more. They're being vulnerable, right? Men aren't told to be vulnerable. All right. How's everybody feeling? Maybe we could do a 2-minute dance party before we put up our next speaker. Let's do it. Let's go. Marketplace for spiritual and holistic practitioners, wellness practitioners. And I built it because under resentment against censorship, shadow banning, deplatforming, and demonetization of practitioners on social media. But it's evolved into something so much greater, so much more epic. So today, we are celebrating being all together in real life after doing Zooms for the last year and a half, roundtables featuring practitioners. There are a lot of different modalities out there, things that work for me may not be what works for you. And I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to find out what works for them and to learn and come together with unity and love. So this is the last day of Healerverse Miami Event 2025. We made it. If anything went wrong behind the scenes, hopefully you didn't notice. We only do this event together in like a month, so I think it really was a good turnout. I'm grateful. I'm going to bring up my friend Sam here. She's pretty legendary, and she lives actually just a little bit north of me, probably like 20 minutes north of me, and she just opens up an amazing center that I highly recommend you guys come visit me and come visit her up north of here, about 2 hours. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Sam. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam Bryce, and I'm the owner of Breatheworks Oxygen Therapy. I also own a wellness center right out of Stewart, Florida, called Paese Wellness Sanctuary. I'll start with the wellness sanctuary, and I'll move into the oxygen. So at my wellness center, we offer cold plunges, sauna, infrared, PEMF, CES, ABE, photoelectromagnetic stuff, all the fun things that we all love. We also are partnering with the hydrogen water and a lot of our other lovely biohacking modalities. What got me into this space is about 3 years ago, I was a part of one of Dr. Dana Amen's brain studies on female goalies. And when he flew me from Houston at the time out to Atlanta and we scanned my brain, it was fortunate that we found out that a third of my brain was dead. Not just damaged, it was dead. And I was on the fast track, to unfortunately dying myself. This was 3 years ago, to remind you. I am now 25, I own 4 companies, and I am kicking ass. What I did to get here is I went from Dr. Daniel Amen's study where I was with him for about 9 months, and unfortunately I was getting sicker and sicker. And about 9 months into the trial that we were doing, he had to let me out of this program to kind of go do my final whatever I was going to do and make my peace. I was really upset about that at 21, 22 years old. So I went to therapy one day and I cried my heart out. When I came out of therapy, I saw a sign on the wall for something called oxygen. And as a lifelong athlete, which is what caused the brain damage, female goalies, by the way, number one deadly sport position in the world, was also the first girl in the state of Texas to play football on the high school boys team. Went a little hard all the time. So as a lifelong athlete, coming out and being told there was no solution, I saw this thing called oxygen therapy, and I thought, why not give it a try? What you do with oxygen therapy, and specifically the format that I use, is called EWOT, which is exercise with oxygen therapy. It is like the modern, accentuated version of hyperbaric or any of the other oxygen therapies that you're starting to hear about now. Once again, this has been around for a long time. We just weren't allowed to know about it. When I came out and I went into that place, I started riding on that bike. Within a week, I was back to work as a landscaper full time. Within 9 months, I had regrown my brain fully, not just stop the damage, fully regrew my brain. I was healing at the rate of an 8-year-old, because what we always thought was that stem cells were this specific type of cell that you were born with, and after that, they start declining and go away. What we now know to be true, and there are studies globally that support this, is that a stem cell essentially means that the mitochondria inside your cell are able to make 100% of the energy from 100% of the ingredients which we get back. A great way I like to explain it is imagine over time we're giving a baker the ingredients for a cake. And slowly as they age, the cake is unfortunately getting a little topsy-turvy, crumbly, or small. What I'm able to do with oxygen therapy is squish your cells, and technically the organelles within your cells. Mighty mitochondria, and we all remember that, powerhouse of the cell. We are able to squish your cells and then reinflate them with 4 times as much oxygen as you're able to get anywhere else in the world ever. Back in the day when people, trees, and things were bigger, that is because our ozone layer was a little bit more locked in, and we had more oxygen and hydrogen and all the other lovely chemicals in our ozone layer. What my version of oxygen therapy does is you ride on a stationary bike where you practice Tai Chi, or sometimes I'm feeling like some squats, and basically you are moving it through your body. So you can imagine, yes, hyperbaric is beautiful. I'm not going to talk negative on any type of oxygen therapy. However, if you're able to sit there or move it through, it's going to get deeper, better, faster. Another reason why my type of oxygen therapy, EMOR, is so beautiful is the original machine I worked with was with Live02. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but it was a beautiful company. When I got done with my brain healing 9 months, I called up the CEO of Live02 and I was like, yo, we need to make some changes. This is incredible. We need to get this to everyone. We need to have this in retirement homes and locker rooms and airports and recovery centers. In order to do that, though, the machine I had been riding on for those 9 months, I had to reach down and switch every couple minutes. I had to watch a clock. I had wires everywhere. It was not functional for at home or for anyone, honestly, in my situation with brain damage or PTSD. CTE is a hard thing. It's hard to remember how to speak correctly, much less try to guide yourself through all these fancy switches and knobs and gizmos. So what I'm back with is the Live02 CEO tipped me off to a scientist out of Colorado. He put me in touch with a gentleman named Michael Connors. And Michael Connors and I worked together for the past 2.5 years to develop the Arrow system, which I have right there in the back. It's been blowing up for a while, and after this, we can all take a little field trip. You're more than welcome to try out a session for only 12 minutes. So with the Arrow system, I worked with Michael Connors, the scientist out of Colorado, and we wrote an app program that guides you through, that does all the switches for you. We are now working on writing a guided meditation program through it and working with Tai Chi gurus and mystics and things like that to add in new things into our app that can help it just guide you a little quicker. And in 9 months I became a national expert on oxygen therapy simply for the amount of hours that I wrote on that bike 5 days a week and the things that I was able to accomplish while doing so. One of the other cool things I added in that Live02 had just not had the chance to get to was the breathwork practices. When I first got into this space, I didn't know anything. I was a 21-year-old brain damaged college soccer goalie doing her best to survive. I did not know about all these other biohacking modalities, which I now love and support. But just so you understand, when I regrew my brain, the only thing I was doing was breathwork and oxygen. The breathwork came naturally from what I was doing. I remember being on runs as a child with my coaches always saying, breathe through your nose, out through your mouth. So when I added that in, and then when I started studying people like Joe Dispenza, James Nestor, all these other fun people, and I added in a couple of the guided breathwork patterns into it, the results that I saw, not only myself, but then the clients that I was running, absolutely blew my mind. So right now, we have the app written and we have the machine which guides you through it. And we're also having these nasal guided practices being added in as well. One of the cool things, and I would think probably the coolest thing about our machine, and the reason why it also stands apart from hyperbaric, ozone, IV, all these other things, is that it is a system. One, it is an air scrubber. There are no legal issues with this, no problems. It can be in a home. Sometimes I run it out the back of my bus. I drive a rainbow painted space van that I call my biohacking bus to go do home visits to people who can't quite get to me the first few sessions. And this is my purpose, and I will continue to do that and take it and get it to the people who need to have it. One of the So one of the cool things with this air scrubber is that it is able to pull the oxygen from the air around us. And there are two bags hanging up. There's a smaller one on the bottom, and that fills up with 8% oxygen, as if you were in the top of the Himalayas. There is no contradictions to doing any of this. You could ride on the 8% and you would be just fine. However, the bigger bag on top fills up with 84% oxygen. And that is 4 times as much as you can get anywhere in the world, no matter what you do. We are very, very blessed out here in Florida with living at sea level and having 21% oxygen in our air on a good day. That's on a good day. That's getting worse out here. However, my bag is able to fill up 8% and then the 84. So the 4 times as much. So what we're doing to you while you're riding on the bike, or what you're doing to yourself essentially, is imagine you're that giant sponge in your truck, right? And I shove you in a bucket of water and we're going to squish a few times. And you know that's going to get the water in deeper, faster, and more thoroughly than if you were just to leave the sponge sitting on the top of the water. That is where the combination between going through the 8% and the 84 is truly able to squish and then reinflate those cells. When we do that, once again, cycle back, that is helping our mitochondria. And if we're able to help our mitochondria in our bodies, remember, and as everyone in this event has said, our bodies have the codes. They know what to do. As long as we are able to, and I love that Colette went before me. She is one of my good friends, and everything she was saying was just beautiful. I like to describe to people that our bodies are thirsty, or that we're a little dehydrated in many senses of that word. And so our cells, as we age, are becoming a little dehydrated from oxygen, actually. Or they're thirsty for oxygen, and our mitochondria are not able to grab on or reinflate with this on their own. When we're able to practice and use things like EWOC therapy for a while and hydrogen, we're able to get our bodies back up to those levels where then vitamins, nutrients, minerals, all these other things are able to be used. Our body knows what to do with them, but too often we've been educated and unfortunately taught incorrectly, where we all take about a handful of 30 vitamins for the past 10 years, trying our very best with our hearts in the right place, but our bodies were not able to do what they needed to do with these nutrients and minerals that we were giving them, unless we are already at that place of synchronicity within our body, where then it is able to take the ingredients and nutrients and put them where they need to go. Once again, I don't need to tell your body where to put the oxygen, and I actually can't. But another way to really easily explain this to someone is imagine you take an ibuprofen. Do you tell the ibuprofen where to go? No. Your body knows where to take any of these beautiful things that we're giving it. And as long as your body is at that level where it's then able to use what we're giving it, the growth in the beautiful health things that we're able to see, mental, spiritual, and physical, just take off. I really appreciate that about oxygen therapy. And I think it is still incredible to this day that now I get to add in all these other biohacking modalities and I can help people achieve what I achieved even faster. But at the time, it really was just the oxygen. And then my body was able to naturally regulate my hormones, get those back online, heal the brain damage. It was able to digest better. My gut health got better. My hair grew stronger and longer. It was such a beautiful experience for me, and I will always be able to carry that forward. This is what I will dedicate my life to. However, it wasn't a choice. It's a calling. And I heard one of my great friends this week, Chastity Marie gave me a lovely explanation to everybody in the room. And she said that she didn't feel qualified to the calling that she had recently. And I would say this for Chastity. But the call is the qualification, and you will rise to the occasion. And you are built and designed for these conversations and for the change that you're going to make happen. Nobody who actually changed the world or who is actually helping out these things felt qualified to begin with because it wasn't fair. You rise to these occasions. And I'm very grateful to be surrounded by such beautiful people who are along the same path and alignment. And that 1% that Colette was touching on last conversation can't stop this anymore. And I am so grateful to have had my machine launched just a few months ago after 2.5 years of working. It wouldn't have been ready 2 years ago. I have been going to these biohacking events for a long time now. But if I had started this 2-3 years ago, it would have got lost in the translation. We are ready now, and we are waking up. Just from putting my machine into my wellness center in Stewart 3 months ago, I am now full co-owner of said wellness studio, and we had our grand opening on Friday because I have been able to bring so many clients in and see so many beautiful changes. Where I really love the sauna, the infrared, but once again, we have to fill your body up to be able to take and use all these other things without overloading it and causing sometimes a little bit of negative detox or this, that, and the other. Things like the hydrogen, water, and oxygen, and love, and grounding, and nature, and diet are able to take our bodies, minds, and souls into a place that we couldn't even dream was possible to be. And I can take some questions, but that'll probably be my little spiel for a second. So again, the company's name is Breatheworks, and the machine that I helped create is the Aero system. We do have a patent, and luckily the gentleman who owned Live 2 and created that to begin with had retired. He fully signed this over to my co-founders and I to take this ball and run with it. He was getting to the point where he was ready to tap out of the game, and I am so grateful to have been able to pick up that baton and carry it forward for the next while.
What is a few other things that oxygen, enriched oxygen, like you're speaking about, can do for us?
Yes, I just all this that I am not a doctor and we are not legally giving any medical advice. However, I've seen some incredible changes from people suffering from all things such as Parkinson's, hormones, autism. I'm really glad Colette brought that one up. I like to call myself artistic, and I have been diagnosed since I was about 5 years old. And I do believe that that is a big part of my power and why I'm able to see things and carry them forward in different ways. However, we are going through so much input from today's world between the 5G, the pollution, the dysregulation, and disharmony in general, as well as pollution, red 40, all of these things that are being ring-fed and that are unfortunately around us so much that we are not able to really get away from. Things like hydrogen, water, and oxygen, grounding, the ocean. These are able to help carry them through and get them out of our bodies quicker, which are then able to help our bodies, once again, get to those codes and know what to do to take us to the next step. When we are constantly receiving inputs from all of these things, our bodies are doing, minds and souls, are doing the absolute best they can to keep up. We now have the ability with technology blended with these natural I like to call them Eastern modalities of healing, and we are able to take all of this to an absolute exponential level. I am so blessed to be living in today's world where for the first 22 years of my life, I was terrified. I was so scared to watch the world go down and not be able to do a thing about it. And now, after seeing what I've seen the past few years, I feel so incredibly blessed to be a part of this next stage of the awakening and of the new world and of using these technologies and blending them together and not only having the negative side effects of the disharmony around us.
That's beautiful, Sam. The culture is really changing. Thanks so much.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. This is Sam Bryce from Breatheworks. I'm here. I'm here over the corner. If anyone would like to try the oxygen and come see my machine or ask me any more questions, just let me know and we'll get in touch. Thank you so much.
Everyone, we're back on for one last. This is certainly the grand finale. The Eric of all Erics of USB. So what's really neat about Eric and unique is that he is like probably the biggest event thrower and machine guy in this entire place. And he's actually doing some upcoming events that we're going to partner on too. So I'm super, super excited for that. And I'm not really going to go too much into it because I like when people introduce themselves, but we met through mutual friends and I'm thrilled to invite him on up. Come on, and he's also verified on Healerverse. Woo!
Thank you Healerverse. Thank you so much. Anyway, my name is Eric Stroller. I am the president of a company called Champion Mindset Events. I've been producing events for over 30 years. I started my career with legends, people like Brian Tracy and Jim Rohn and people who've been at this for decades. And, it wasn't where I started, where I wanted to go, but that's kind of where my journey took me. And so with that journey, I had the opportunity to work not only producing events in 35 different cities around the country, and then later on in my career, I had the chance to work with Les Brown, one of the greatest motivational speakers, and we started the Les Brown Speaking Institute. So we've trained thousands of people on how to get their message out there. Because it's really about this, it's like, who are you, and why should I listen to you, and where are you going to take me on this journey? So what we've done is then kind of integrated the whole health and wellness over the last 5 years. We created programs like Health, Wealth, and Self, and we work with about 30 different conference providers around the country, and medical events, longevity events, and so that was just an outgrowth of just the different connections. And then we started getting involved, and we have a suite upstairs that most of you haven't seen. We've got $100,000 about technology up there, red light tech, PMF technology, hyperbaric chambers. Yeah, we're the best kept secret. You got to make it through the 9 massage tables. The thing you gotta give a secret password, and they'll let you in, right? So you can see I'm real happy about that, right? This is the Brooklyn side of me coming out, right? Because the bottom line is that the way to heal yourself is a health wellness about yourself, right? And I think we get so caught up in the medical system, thinking that doctors are going to help us. I almost died in the hospital when they put 2 stents in me, right? And so I went on my own journey this last year and lost almost 100 pounds and shredded my body out. She knows me when I look like you look at my picture on one of our mentor pictures, I had done a photo shoot, and that's not you. In fact, 4 weeks ago, 3 times at TSA, and I got stopped with my clear app, and they detained me for a minute, right? Because this isn't you. I pulled out my license. I'm not kidding. So why do I share this? Because when you have health, you have wealth. We've heard that said. And, Les Brown, who's a great friend of mine, said this. He goes, healthy people have 1,000 goals, right? But unhealthy people have what? One goal. And that's to get healthy. All day I've had like a gut problem. I can't figure out what it is. I think I don't have one anymore. It's like, where'd my stomach go? But I have a frequency device upstairs called Coil, and I'm using the device with an upbeat balance for, what's going on with digestion. So I share all this with you because my journey is my own story, and everybody here has a story. Would you agree you have a story to tell? So one of the things I'm really big on is, can you take your own IP, your own intellectual property, and turn it into a 6, 7, 8 figure business? And the answer is, of course, yes. but most people don't know how to do it. So we basically do things. We help people frame their story, put them on stages, help give them all the components so they go out there and be their own brand. I work with people that are either accomplished speakers already, or people want to get into the space. But the wellness side is what I'm really excited about, because in this period of time that we've been working with different practitioners, other people, what I realize is that this technology really works. Does anybody here use red light technology? Yeah, we have a transcranial red light helmet that we're moving to needle with autism, Parkinson's, dementia. And so I like to work as a patient advocate. My mother is in a memory care facility, so I take the technology up there. If you know these memory care places, they administer drugs, and they make sure that people eat, and they make sure they're clean. That's it. I walk in and the director says, well, no, we don't do this. So I can bring all my toys in as much as I want, but these memory care places are not out there. So one of the goals that I have is to change as a patient advocate, whether it's Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer. People are not in the know. You know, I watched the journey of my mother, who is now 84, who is the superintendent of schools in New York City, who doesn't really speak, who's in a wheelchair. It's a tragedy to watch a room of 30 people get through lunch as we're enjoying our day. We're just trying to get through lunch. Now, I just share this with you because the technology that we have here can slow down the aging process, can stop people from getting Alzheimer's, because we're also dying of what? Diabetes 3, because it's all sort of what game? Inflammation. And so if you can manage, as we're here, using green drinks and hydrogen water, hyperbaric chambers, you're going to live longer. But I don't think it's just about living longer, right? Would you like to live to 100, but you're in a wheelchair and you're in a hospice? And that's not living. But if you live to 100, and Dave Ashley and his guy live to 180, that's a long friggin' time, right? You know, gee, that's a lot of days of brushing my teeth and getting up. But I want you to realize this, is that we are in a time period right now that there is this shift in thinking of how important health is. You know, nutrition, being in the technology space. We have the ability to communicate with people faster than ever before. How many of you have a story of something that's happened? You know somebody, right? Somebody right here, right, working on themselves. So we are in the process, because I try to reframe who I am after losing all this weight. Right? It was, what am I going to do with this now? So I have a coach, right? I've got like 5 different coaches now. I have a vocal coach, vocal coach. I said, if I'm going to do one thing, I've done about 10,000 talks on stage, right? And I wanted to sing. I saw when I was a kid. So I started working with a coach. We opened up a music rehearsal studio. We have a podcast studio in Hollywood, right? And then we were in New York at an event, and a guy, we met, we were at the same event. Turns out I grew up in Brooklyn, in Canarsie, if anybody's from Brooklyn. He grew up 3 blocks away. They didn't know each other. The organizer was like, wow. And we created a song called Man on a Mission. And so it's been professionally done. I'm a man on a mission. I have a vision in mind. I'm a man on a mission. I have one goal in mind. I'm going to tell my story to the world. I'm going to tell my story to the world. I'm going to turn my dreams into reality. Now, I'm just telling you the lyrics, but not only did I do it, I had a world-class drummer who is played with Rod Stewart do the drums, right? I had a world-class organ guy put on who plays with James Taylor. So why did I do this? Because I spent my career working around the best people in the industry of speaking, so we want to put out a product. So now I'm putting out a stage show with music. And then the last thing we're doing is we're actually putting out an episodic television series called Biohacking Miracle Stories. We're going to be filming it at the Amarin Hotel Resort in Cedar Island. We have a legitimate executive producer, a Hollywood producer, and we're looking for stories. So if you know people that have guests, I know a story right here. I want your stories, and we're just literally launching the production. Our company From a media standpoint, we do a lot of corporate sponsorship races. We love to support events like this. And June 20th and 21st, we have a business of biohacking event that we do in Aventura. It's a couple of days, more than happy to share that. We get into not only about your story, but then we get into the technologies and how you can profit. See, there's so much money, whether you're an influencer, whether you want to be an affiliate, whether you want to open up your own location. The technology is changing people's life. I'm posting up, I have to go for surgery, but right now I'm posting up at my mother's place with all this tech. Because I want to prove to people that you can move the needle, right? And so for all of us, if we're representatives, all the stuff upstairs I use every day, twice a day, because I'm in fear of getting dementia or Alzheimer's. So we're demonstrating that firsthand, so you can check in at 5 a.m. with me and see that I'm doing this. I'm in the gym at 6 a.m. So I just want to show people, right? Nobody cares what you do. They want to see, right? They want to see what you're doing and how it's moving the needle. The last thing I want to share with you is this. Success is a journey. It is not a destination. And what I learned a long time ago is if you want to be successful, get around more successful people. Get around people that believe in you, that share your dreams, that share your vision, just like this community here. And I give my hats off to Trish. She said I had this idea about 4 weeks ago. Pulled it together. Douglas calls me last minute. Hey, so we can. What's that? Pop-up style. And you know, thank you. And you know, again, when you come into any kind of conference or event, right, it's a new experience. And so for a first-time experience to bring people together, because at the end of the day, what is it all about? It's about connection. And I want to leave you with this. How many of you know what transaction is, right? I sell you a bottle of water, I say transaction. How many of you have relationships that you've developed because of the online community that you're just meeting for the first time? Right? How many people, I have people like that. I have people at work I haven't seen. I have a guy that I worked with for 25 years. We really met each other last November. But we didn't miss each other, right? You know, so it's interesting. And then you get in a room with people that how many of you, we lived online and Zoom and COVID, and I was doing seminars, and I'm like, it was so melodramatic. You go, here's the seminar, you go, and the screen closes, and like that's the whole event. I'm used to big productions and Les Brown getting off stage. And I'm like, that's kind of like, but they were making a lot of money online because people took to it. So I want you to think about this for yourself. Transaction, right? Is your life being relationship driven or is it transaction driven? As I get older, and our kids are getting wiser, I start to realize that what's the most important thing in your life is relationships, the people that are around you, that support you, that believe in you. Are you gonna have haters? If you're not doing enough stuff, you should have some haters, right? People are jealous of you, they're upsetting you. I heard Dean Graziosi say something very interesting. He goes, if you're worried about the guy that just put you off on the highway or some other thing, you're complaining about something, then you know what? You're focusing on the wrong goals, right? If your goal is to change humanity, if your goal is to influence people on the highest level, then get away from those things you're not. So, relationships. Think about the relationships that you have. Think about the ones you want to develop. What we do is champion, we create communities of people. We have a huge network all over the country, all over the world. And we're all about it. The one superpower that I would have would be connect people with the right people to put them in a position to be successful.